Right, folks, this is a new podcast from the Two Mikes, and I'm going to give you old energy boy, MG, to introduce it.
Yeah, we've edited out all the nonsense from Mike Porky Parry, so it might be a bit shorter than usual.
Ha, 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 ha.
You haven't heard of Howling Wolf?
Well, kind of, but I thought he was a wrestler. Giant hyenas. Giant hyenas. Hyenas, yeah.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, very good morning to you, Mike. I don't understand why we're wasting valuable airtime in our 3-hour show, which isn't long enough anyway.
What's that?
Talking about the NFL.
Well, you want to do a longer show?
Well, no, but I mean, within 3 hours...
Well, we're getting to the denouement of the NFL season, which I think you'll find is followed by many, many millions of people in this country.
No, it's not. No, nobody cares, honestly,
you keep
this
saying
country.
that, but every time they have a football game at Twickenham, or they have one at Wembley, they get about 80,000 people looking at it, right? You keep calling that a novelty. It's been going on for years. As each year goes on, they get bigger and bigger crowds. They get more and more people going.
Once a year.
And loads of people, myself amongst them, will be up all night watching the Super Bowl.
Oh, be up all night watching the Super Bowl. Oh, look at me, I'm a Super Bowler.
What's wrong
with
you?
What will you do? Will you have an American Friends party? You know, let's have hamburgers and a few bottles of Bud in the middle of the night, to celebrate.
No, I won't, actually.
The all-American boy.
No.
I got you now, boy.
I mean, as
what it's all about?
As you know, I have quite a big connection to the United States of America. My mother lives there. My sister lives there. One of my sons lives there. My daughter is half American.
To get away from
my
you.
ex-wife is from the United States of America. You, of course, on the other hand, went to America, completely self-absorbed, didn't bother getting mixed up with anybody who was local, don't have an American family. So, you don't want to watch it. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
You should not in any way denigrate other people who wish to do so.
Yeah, but you see, I am the 99.9% of our audience. The connection I have with America
I think most of them would not want to say they had anything in common with you.
But I'm thoroughly British, and most people who are British couldn't give a flying fig about the NFL.
You don't give a flying fig about the NFL.
I'm telling you, 99.9% of our audience.
Should we do a Twitter poll?
Do a Twitter poll, by all means.
Do a Twitter poll on the Two Mikes right now. Because I shall pin it to the top of the Two Mikes Twitter account.
It's a bit like...
the question will be, are you one of the 99.9% of people who are not interested in the NFL?
Yes, please do that. Please,
Shall we do that?
Let's do that.
Or would you like to do the poll?
No, you do the poll.
Why do you want me to do it?
Because I think it's more appropriate you do.
Because don't know how to,
no, I know.
No, you don't know how to.
No, I know the answer. No,
but you don't. It's not a question of whether you know the answer. It's a question of whether you can actually form a poll.
No, that's not the case at all. You see, the thing is, people who try to impose the NFL on us in this country, it's a bit like trying to impose communism
seen what's happening at Tottenham?
on the free world.
Have you seen what's happening at Tottenham?
Communism in the free world.
Have you seen what's happening at Tottenham? I'll ask it for the third time.
It's utterly irrelevant that
Why is it irrelevant that a football team in the Premier League, a top four team in the Premier League, highly successful, bound for European glory, is going to share a stadium with an NFL team?
Yes.
So you think Tottenham is stupid for doing that?
No, I'm not. Tottenham is stupid at all. I know.
So you think they're bucking the trend, do you?
I know they're having locker rooms built in their new stadium to accommodate American football teams once a year, and that's fine if they want to go to that expense and they want to do that. That's up to them. Not a problem at all. It won't be the first mistake Mr. Levy's made.
So you're saying it's a mistake?
He's a great football administrator.
Well, one of the things he's good at is knowing where the commercial sense of things is.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Well, are you saying he's not a good commercial director?
I've told you. I think he's a great football administrator and official. But in the years past, a lot of money has been wasted when big players have been sold for lots of money, like Gareth Bale, and then you wonder what happens to the money there and that sort of thing. It happens at every football club.
Well, Tottenham is a pretty well-run club, I think you'll find.
Yeah, I think Tottenham's a very well-run club. But what I'm saying is that doesn't mean that the answer to all clubs' fortunes is to suddenly convert their stadium into a multi-sport venue.
But he's obviously doing it for a reason. And if he didn't think that the NFL was going to have a future in this country, then he wouldn't be doing it.
Well, I mean, that's his decision. What I'm telling you is there's not enough interest in this country, in the NFL, to put in a fixed and permanent facility in any city in this country which would give you regular NFL, because it is a novelty. Once a year, it's
been a novelty for a very long time. I mean, a novelty normally describes something which is new, something which is untried,
or happens very occasionally.
No, novelty does not describe something that happens very occasionally. That's something that's occasional.
Fireworks in this country are novelty because they only usually happen on November the 5th and New Year's Eve.
That's rubbish.
But
there are fireworks all the time.
No,
there are fireworks at the end of football matches.
Listen,
there are fireworks. Oh, we're going to go anyway now because you're losing the argument.
No.
I have now put out the tweet, okay? is at the top of the two mics. Go and find it there. It's pinned. The question is this.
Yes.
Is Mike Parry right that he is one of the 99.9% of people listening who are not interested at all in the NFL?
Yes, that's it. That's a fair question. Right. That's like it's like a referendum, isn't it? I don't know why we're talking about the NFL when there's a far more important subject.
Well, we should be talking about Sutton United.
No,
not
that.
That is your local team that you should be supporting.
No, there's another subject.
I support my local team, Millwall, when they get into times of difficulty. You couldn't care less about Sutton United.
Yes. Well, Sutton United in Gander Green Lane are a big part of the local culture of that part of the world. They are quite close to me, but I cannot claim falsely to be, an ardent supporter. In fact, I've never actually been to their ground. Except to go drinking there in their social club. So,
well, that's appalling.
What?
I mean, you could walk there from your place in Sutton.
No, I couldn't.
Yeah, you could.
No, it'd take about 40 minutes.
40 minutes?
Yeah,
40 minutes will be turned into a barrel
from the other direction.
Tubby Isaacs
but
down
listen,
East End.
What we should be talking about, because I know there is a demand for this on this show, is my ordeal today, 3.5 hours in the dentist's chair. They do.
Early voting is 52 to 48%. Yes.
Yeah, that'll soon even out, don't worry.
It doesn't have to even out. It's supposed to go to 99.9, otherwise you'll be completely wrong.
Because of the time of night it is, most of the people voting so far are voting in America.
Is that what you think?
Yeah, of course I do, because a lot of people in this country will now be asleep. And
That's
they will listen to the podcast tomorrow morning.
Absolute rubbish.
And then the pendulum will swing the other way entirely.
Here's Pete. He says, I'm British and love the NFL. Come on, you cheeseheads.
Yeah, cheeseheads.
You once said that you were a supporter of the cheeseheads, didn't you?
No, I don't know who the cheeseheads are.
You don't know who the Cheeseheads are?
Are they the Green Bay Packers?
They are the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, well, there you go, you see. Now, people are very interested in my ordeal today in the dentist chair.
I've yet to find anyone who's interested at all.
Oh, no, they are. I know this.
They're more interested in the effect the drugs are having
on
you.
No. Well, I did have anaesthetic. I was doolally for some part of the day.
Well, you still are. I've got news for you.
I can say, you see cheap little jibes like that.
I can say with absolute
not the
clarity.
sort of thing people expect when they tune into the two-mic show.
I know you very well. I can tell when you haven't quite recovered from a visit to the medical offices.
Really? Can you? Yeah.
Your body, you're getting,
But anyway,
hosed down.
It was one of the structurally, I was told today, it was one of the most complicated dental procedures that's ever been undertaken. I had 3 new teeth put in, but 2 of them had to coordinate with each other, top and bottom of my gums and jaw.
Do they use those funny little kind of things that are like a piece of film? Do they use those?
What?
Well, when they make you grind them together.
Yeah, grind teeth together.
But they use like a little, it's almost like a slide.
Yes, they can do that.
And it's made of what would appear to be some kind of a filmy type
substance.
And
if the black bits appear on the porcelain implant, then it's not right, and they have to start again.
Yeah.
And the number of drills they've got to smooth these things out and change shape and all that kind of stuff.
It's like a plane, isn't it, almost?
Almost like a plane.
Yeah.
But
so how long were you in there for?
3.5 hours.
Blimey.
And
it's longer than this show.
It is longer than this show.
The poor guy. Well, you see, the good thing is that he had you under anaesthetic. Yeah. Maybe I could do that. I could do a 3-hour show with you.
That's a bit harsh.
Put you under anaesthetic.
That's a bit harsh. So when you feel a tooth going in, you think, right, that's it, because it goes in onto a metal bracket, which has already been sunk into your jawbone. Well, no, but I mean, you can feel the vibration of it, even though you can't feel the pain or anything. Although I am good at resisting pain,
really,
as you know if you watch the Cinnamon Challenge.
Yeah.
But then you think that's done, and then it's not. It's yanked out again, and the reason being is it's not. What's the word they use? It's not. When it doesn't fit with the other one, it's not level or
I don't know. Well, you were the one that's been there for 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I was a bit groggy at the time.
I know.
And then
did
they
you
have
a friend come and pick you up, or did you have to tell him you didn't have any?
No. No, I had a car to take me home. Yeah. Not a
who
problem.
was picking you up?
Well, a car that I hired.
Well, they normally say
it's
surely a family member or somebody that actually cares about you.
No, I didn't know that.
You couldn't find anyone.
No, we're a busy family, and there was nobody around.
I'm sure that's what I would have said as well.
And then on the other side, where another tooth put in, that had to coordinate so that your jaw doesn't become lopsided. If you see what I mean?
That would look weird.
It would look very weird at all. So it was a very complicated procedure, very painful now. Now the anaesthetic's wearing off. The worst pain is on the crown, on the top, because that's now...
Are you able to chew at all?
No. Today I've eaten a bowl of mashed potato. So what's your problem?
I just think it's funny.
A bowl...
Was it real mashed potato or smash?
It was smash, actually, but I mean... So what?
It was.
Well, you don't go around buying real mashed potato, do you?
Well, no, you buy potatoes, you peel them, boil them, mix them up with a bit of butter and milk and salt and pepper, and there you go.
I was unable
Bob's your uncle.
I was unable to function to that extent.
So you
in
actually
the hours
bought
after.
smash?
Yeah, of course I bought Smash. But I tell you what, it's better than going into a supermarket and buying a carton of already made mashed potato with a plastic film across the top. Who would do that?
Well, some people would prefer to do that because it's actually real potato as opposed to Smash,
mine was
which
real
is
potato.
Reconstituted, dehydrated potato flakes.
I had a big bowl of mashed potato.
Do you have anything with it?
Yes, chicken gravy.
Chicken gravy?
Yeah, chicken gravy.
Is that the powdered kind you can buy?
Well, how else do you get gravy, you idiot? You don't buy gravy. You don't buy gravy in liquid form, you fool.
Well, you probably can, actually.
No, you don't.
Do you know what I made today? I made a chicken curry.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was really good.
Really?
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
I mean, even Bisto, which is the world's leading gravy.
Is it?
Comes in a
Are you sure?
Cardboard box. What's your problem?
Look, it's too late for any of this. Time is of the essence.
Well, I'm only trying to get the facts of the situation.
Well, I'll get some more facts from you in a moment.
I don't know what your problem is.
There's gravy in a box.
Do you think anybody, seriously,
some mashed potato in a sachet,
goes around sitting on a stool in the kitchen, peeling potatoes, throwing the peel away, putting the potatoes in a pan and then boiling them for the next hour?
You boil them for about 15 minutes.
Utter rubbish.
You boil them for 15 minutes. It takes no time at all. While you're preparing the other things that you're having, as opposed to just having, just having a load of... It's not antediluvian at all. Yeah. You're eating like a spaceman when, in fact, you live on the Earth.
No.
This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mikes, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Madness, they call it madness. Madness, they call it madness. I'm about to explain that someone is losing their breath. Madness, I call it gladness.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. Ask Porky coming up a little bit later on, of course. I mean, some questions may relate to your episode with the dentist, I suppose.
Yes.
Some people might ask you about that.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to get those kind of questions, I'm going to read them out. Here's one from Andy in the Peaks. He says, does porcelain count when having wisdom teeth out or in? These aren't wisdom teeth, though, are they?
No, these aren't wisdom teeth, no. Who said they were?
Well, nobody did. I think it's just a question. Is porcelain got anything to do with it? I mean, what are they making these teeth out of that you've got?
Porcelain.
Are they?
With a metal shell inside.
Uh-huh.
It's a metal
Is that going to be a problem when you go through the old airport security?
No, because it's only the same as fillings. It's only the same as fillings.
Fillings are made of amalgam, aren't they?
Well, I think that's what these are made of, or aluminium, or something like that. But I'm having.
I once did an interview with Ronnie Lane.
Yeah.
Before he died.
Yes.
He was suffering from multiple sclerosis.
That's right.
And he was convinced that one of the reasons he'd got MS was because of the amalgam in his filling.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, the thing is, I've got white fillings, all bar one, and I'm having that taken out and replaced by a white one. But the funny thing is, I asked my dentist today to count up how many actual
What's
teeth.
What's his name, the dentist?
I can't reveal that.
Why not?
That'd be unfair. He's
Why?
a dental surgeon.
Is he?
Very, very highly qualified.
Really?
Top of his profession.
Private guy, is he?
Oh, very much so, yeah.
How much does it cost then?
What, the whole lot?
Yeah.
6,200 quid. Sorry, what's your problem?
Nothing.
Well, I mean, you've got to have your teeth fixed,
Yeah.
and so I'm afraid something else has got to go. You know what I mean? You've got to use you've got to use your household budget properly.
Yeah.
To get your teeth
Well,
sorted.
not many people can afford that kind of money to get their teeth sorted out.
In that case,
6,000 quid's a lot of money.
Well, they'd have to remortgage the house then, wouldn't they?
Well, some people don't have a mortgage on their house.
Well, a lot of people do. Or, instead of spending
you
it
have
on...
no idea how people live, do you?
Instead of spending it on frivolous things like, overseas holidays twice a year or something like that, they should get their teeth done and then they'd feel in better shape,
Ian
wouldn't
says
they?
this, it's a pity the dentist just didn't board Porky's mouth up for good.
Oh, yeah, that's very nice, isn't it? Eh? Very nice, yeah.
And Mark says this, no, there's lots, every NFL game played here is a sellout. Personally, I don't get it myself, but each to their own. Shall I give you an update on it's 57% to 43% at the moment?
Yes.
Nowhere near 99.9.
In my favour?
Well, it's in your favour,
yes,
yeah. But
thank you.
The question is...
Thank you.
Right, let me read you the question again.
Yeah.
The question is Mike Parry right that he is one of the 99.9% of people listening who are not interested at all in the NFL?
Yes,
so unless you get 99.9%, then I'm afraid you've lost.
I think 57-43 is a pretty big lead so far, don't you?
No, because it's nowhere near
it's
90.
It's a 14% lead.
You said 99%. Well, 99.9%. So it should be actually 99 to nothing.
It's a 40%. Listen, I've got a very interesting fact to tell you. So I said to my dental surgeon.
You're still talking about your dentist.
Yeah, before I left the surgery, I said, look, how many of my teeth left in my mouth are actually my teeth?
Yes.
Do you know how many are?
10.
3.
3?
Yeah.
Does that mean without having had anything done to them?
Without being an implant or a crown or a veneer, The only 3 teeth I've got left, which are mine, are the 2 at the back on each side, and 1 in the middle.
What about 2 at the front?
No, there's 4 at the front.
Are they crowns as well?
Yeah, they're all crowns.
Like the 2 front ones as well?
Yes, that's right, yeah. Well, they're not crowns. They snapped and had to be repaired.
Right.
So they're like veneers or
they're
something.
crowns.
Yeah, that's right, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people would say that that's about the same thing as that scenario.
Yeah, I would say it's probably right, because that's the way it goes these days, I'm afraid.
Younger people actually have much better teeth because you're of a generation when basically people just didn't have very good teeth and dental care wasn't particularly good.
That is absolutely true.
And I'm in the same boat, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but my kids have got much better teeth than I had because the water's better and all that.
Yeah, sure. Do you know what I don't understand? What I don't understand is this. When I was a kid, the idea of paying for dental treatment was just a joke. You know,
do you know when I was a kid, we used to go to Harley Street to the dentist, but it was on the NHS.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, we actually went. I mean, the guy was he was a private dentist, but we didn't have money to pay for it. No. But we were able to go there because he was an NHS dentist as well.
That's what I'm saying. My mum and dad never paid for a visit to the dentist in their life, and then it was the start of the old revolution when Tony Blair came about. You know, the man of the people, and let's have universal healthcare and all that. From the day you walked through the door, we started paying for prescriptions, we started paying for healthcare.
Well, that was the beginning of the NHS being too big and having to serve too many people.
Well, it was the beginning of actually, where do all our taxes go? Because we seem to pay for everything we never used to pay for. We never used to pay to go to university, and then suddenly we started paying to go to university.
Well, that's because he encouraged more people to go.
We never paid for dental healthcare, then we started paying for it. We never paid for prescriptions very much.
Accessing the
and then we started paying for it.
That's right. It's a pretty easy conclusion to come to. Yeah. There's more people. You can't keep giving away more stuff to more people for free.
Yes, but
you'll have to make some of them pay for it. Lots of people still get it for free.
Yeah, well, you say that, but I don't know where they do. I don't know where they do.
If you're unemployed, you get it for free. If you're a pregnant mother, you get it for free.
Yeah, but you try and find a dentist who will do it for you for free.
Well, you can't because you're not in that bracket.
No. What I mean is I don't want people to do it for free for me because I can afford to pay for it. What I'm saying is if there was some poor soul, living somewhere near me who had a couple of children and their teeth needed doing... Yeah. I don't know where they'd find a dentist in the area I live who would say, oh, yes, I'll do that for free.
Well, it may well be that they've closed off the NHS list, but there are plenty of dentists around me that will take you on.
Really?
Yeah.
And do it for nothing?
Well, they don't. Well, no, they only do it for nothing if you qualify to get it for nothing. That's my point.
But then the state pays them for doing it.
The state pays them, They're not doing it for nothing.
Dentists got a good number of them.
They do okay. I mean, it's a bit like doctors. Despite the fact that we see all these people demonstrating, these junior doctors saying we're working every hour that God sends, we're making no money.
Yeah.
You very rarely see a poor dentist or a poor doctor.
Yes. You see, I have a bit of resentment to my classmates at the King's School Chester.
Why is that?
Well, quite a lot of them went off to become dentists. Some of them went to Liverpool University. Some of them actually went to Oxford or Cambridge.
Well, they've gone to a dental school instead.
Well, Liverpool, I think, has got one of the best dental schools in the country.
Does it?
Yeah, Birmingham's a very good one. That's where my dental surgeon qualified.
Is that right?
Well, I saw
Is he a Brummie?
No, he's not. No, he's a chap from Northern Ireland,
What's
actually.
his name? I'm telling you.
I can't tell you.
He's from Northern Ireland. He's like Brendan Rodgers.
But, Brendan Rodgers. He told you.
They seem to have an election over there.
That's right.
Martin McGuinness.
It all went a bit wrong, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, yeah.
And, by the way, I see old Nicola Sturgeon was stamping around tonight saying, he cannot risk the future of Scotland on the...
She's not from Belfast. On the whim.
No, that's
she's
right,
from Govan.
Yeah, he cannot risk... Yeah, OK, yeah, she's right, yeah.
He's do as Alan Brazil.
But she was basically saying, that's right, I cannot risk the future of Scotland on what the English are doing down there,
Well, somebody said quite astutely on Twitter earlier, one of my political guys that I follow, he said, well, every time anything happens in Britain, basically Nicola Sturgeon says, this will now force us to have a second referendum. Whatever it is.
Yeah,
whether it's a Brexit, whether it's not a Brexit, whether it's a referendum, whether it's not another referendum, whether it's the Tories getting in, whether it's Labour, whatever happens, she says this will drive us closer to a second referendum.
But I don't quite understand that threat because they lost the first referendum when they had some oil. Now they haven't got any oil. If they had a second referendum, I think they'd do that as well.
Well, what they now want is to have a second referendum because we're leaving Europe and they want to stay in it. Yes. They have this spurious argument which says that because 60% of people in Scotland voted to stay in Europe, the whole country should stay in Europe.
Right, I know, yeah.
I mean, the amount of people who are now kind of trying to hijack democracy is quite remarkable.
Where will Scotland get the money from to make their contributions to the European...
The Europeans have already told them that they can't happen. They've already said, sorry, you cannot negotiate separately with us while you're part of the United Kingdom.
No, because if they did, then I think, Catalonia and all sorts of places like that would want to do the same.
No, it's not going to happen. By the way, Scott has sent a very nice picture in of some Waitrose delicate and savoury chicken gravy, which is in fact in a liquid form.
There we go.
So you see, if you lived anywhere decent and you had a Waitrose next to you, you could have gone and got some of that instead of the powdered Bisto in a box.
Excuse me, I shopped at the new Sainsbury's near me today.
Well, does that make you better than everybody else?
Well, Sainsbury's is a very upmarket supermarket.
Is that where you bought the Smash?
It is, actually.
I didn't know they sold that anymore.
What?
I thought you'd have to go to some retro shop to get that.
No.
I mean, who buys Smash? Who buys that?
For mash, get smashed.
Oh, in your case, smashed.
Smashed, yeah. Listen, getting back to my colleagues at the King's School Chesty, so I kind of resent the fact that they've gone off to dental schools, become dentists, and now live, very affluent lives. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Because they've done that through years.
It's not a job I could ever do, though.
Well, I was about to say. So they've got themselves a big house and a decent standard of living and a nice car.
Wife, some kids.
Yeah, because they've spent so much time staring into people's mouths and practicing dentistry.
Yeah.
Whereas I have their sort of lifestyle because I'm talented.
No, you have that lifestyle because you've never had to look after anybody.
No.
You've never had anybody dependent on you.
Well, no, I'll include you on it. You have that sort of lifestyle because you have a talent. That talent is called communications.
Yeah, well, true.
The dentists don't have a talent except for something they read in a book.
Well, no, you say that. You have to be quite dexterous
No,
to be a
but
dentist.
it hasn't come to them naturally. You don't suddenly, do you, when you're about 15, suddenly start demonstrating your ability to take people's teeth out or anything like that, do you?
Well, the old joke used to be that people who became dentists were actually failed doctors, that they'd gone through like 6 years of the medical school, and then they'd failed at the final hurdle, and so they decided just to become a dentist.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? If you're a talented musician, and round about the age of 14 or 15, you're strumming a guitar and you're writing songs and all that kind of stuff. If you're a talented author, you're actually writing poems like I did and got them published in the King's School Chester magazine.
Actually, your poems were surprisingly good. I still don't believe that they were your original words. I'm sure you stole them from somewhere.
Of course they were. If you have communication powers like you and me, generally speaking, you become the wag in the school class, don't you? And then
to some extent,
people,
is that how you would describe your school days?
Yes, I would. Yeah, a bit of that. Yeah,
I was quite funny at school.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean. And if you,
I was always getting thrown out of class. Actually,
sorry,
I was always getting thrown out of class.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me at all. If you're an artist, you can actually demonstrate talent from the age of about 12 or 13. But you don't have any talent to be a dentist until you go to a dental school and start studying it.
Well,
it's not a natural talent.
No, people have talents.
Footballers are naturally talented. Dentists are not.
Some people have talents for operating small machinery, or can be very good with their hands. People can have a talent for being a bricklayer, a plasterer, which is a quite skilled job. Yeah. People can have talents for all sorts of things.
But playing the piano and playing football are naturally gifted talents God gives you. Being a dentist is not. You have to learn to be a dentist. Would you agree?
Well, you have to learn to be a dentist because you could kill someone if you don't know what you're doing. You can't kill somebody by playing football. Well, you can, but you have to be very unlucky.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a...
But you understand what I'm saying?
Well, it's a profession, isn't it?
It's a profession which you have to work at to earn a certificate to say I'm a dentist. You don't have to do that if you're a musician or a footballer or a communicator like me or an artist.
In other words, you don't need any education to do what you do.
No, it's not that. It's a God-given talent. That's what I'm saying.
All right.
There's a difference between those who are God-given talents and those who get what they've got in life out of a textbook. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, as long as you feel better about that, this is Talk Sport.
Crazy, awesome. Crazy, awesome. Never stop and they never die. They just keep on pumping how they multiply. Crazy horses will they.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up a little bit later on, we'll be talking Formula One because some new rules coming in the new season, which Porky's very excited about. Cars will be going faster and faster and faster. But before we do any of that, the Australian Open, of course, is underway once again. We'll be keeping you updated throughout the course of the night. Mark Donaldson from ESPN is watching that for them and, of course, for us as well. Mark, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Morning, gents. How are you both?
Morning, Mark. Very well, thank you. All the better from hearing from you. Like a bit of sense and knowledge injected into the show early on.
It's the only part of the show.
Me on?
It's the only part of the show that we can do it. Funnily enough, we were just talking. We've got a poll going on at the moment, actually, Mark, because Porky's been telling me that 99.9% of people listening to this show are not interested in the final stages of the Super Bowl and, of course, the NFL season. But at the moment, he's being proved completely and utterly incorrect. 56% of people agree with him. 44% disagree.
That's a pretty big percentage.
No, it's like half and half.
No, not everybody's voting.
Well, let's start with that. Because we're now down to the last final three games, right? The Atlanta Falcons, the New England Patriots, Green Bay Packers, Pittsburgh Steelers. They're all lining up very, very soon to find their way to a Super Bowl. Where is the Super Bowl this year?
Super Bowl's in Houston in Texas.
Houston.
This year, so it's back in warm weather. And do you know what? I say Houston, and I get hammered over here for saying that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's Houston.
Yeah.
So I'm in this country, so I'll go Houston, but that's where it is.
But you see, I don't like that either, Mark, because I like to see pictures of the Super Bowl such as it is. Not that I've got any interest in the game itself, but the event is a world winner, and I like to see it in frozen temperatures. I like it to be -10 when you're looking at the city that's holding the Super Bowl, don't you?
That doesn't happen very often.
I was going to say more often than not. It's in a place where the weather's very good.
There's a reason for that. Of course, there's a reason for that. I was in New York a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, and as it happened, it was above freezing at the time. They had packs for everybody with hand warmers and scarves and whatever, but they didn't need that. So more often than not, it's going to be in warmer climes. It's going to be in Miami in a few years' time as well. The only time they're going to take it to colder climes is indoor stadiums in Minnesota, which is due for Super Bowl in a couple of years as well.
What are the chances of the Dolphins actually making it to the Super Bowl if it's in Miami?
No. Well, I didn't think they'd make the playoffs this year, but they got to the playoffs and then got thumped. So I'll take that. Unfortunately, as long as Bill Belichick and Tom Brady are in town with the Patriots, I think we're going to be playing second fiddle to them. They play Pittsburgh for a place in the Super Bowl in the AFC, and the other one is Atlanta Falcons at home and 5-point favourites against the Green Bay Packers, who I think will go there and win.
Well, the interesting story for me is the story around Aaron Rodgers, and even Porky might quite like this one. He's the star quarterback, isn't he? And he hasn't spoken to his family for years and years and years, and this has kind of only just been coming out in the last few months, isn't it? What's that all about?
Yeah, well, I mean, he does his talking on the field. I'm not sure of there was a lot of talk in the press last week about certain things that had happened, but when he's ever been spoken about it, or when he's been asked the question, he's very coy as to kind of give any actual news of what's going on, because he's like, look, it's a personal matter, I don't want to talk about it. So you know what it's like, you're both journalists. When someone doesn't give too much away, you two, as journalists and everyone else, goes digging. So they've come up with a lot of things that he hasn't spoken to his family for a number of years, but when they've asked him about it, he's been very coy as to say exactly what the case is.
So what do people think it's about? I mean, is it there's sort of undercurrents of, they don't like his lifestyle or something like that because he's very wealthy now, of course, as a quarterback, and he's now, is it something to do with the way he lives? Is there some kind of Christian thing going on?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, it depends whose side of the story you take. I mean, again, he's been very coy. His family have come out and said, I mean, there's the other thing as journalists. You guys, if you go to the horse's mouth and the horse doesn't speak, there's other ways to get the story. And they've come out. They've been a bit critical of him as well. I mean, look, you've both spent a bit of time over here. He's in a lot of adverts over here. He's very self-deprecating. And for us, people that don't know him, he seems like a guy who you'd want to hang out with and spend time with. So you can choose your friends, boys, but you can't choose your family.
But more than ever, Mark, in American society, one way out of the ghetto is to become a star in any sort of sport. Boxing.
He didn't come from a ghetto, this guy.
Hang on, just shut your mouth for a minute while I make my point, please. Okay. In boxing, in football, in baseball, say it ain't so, Joe, and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, it's one way out of the misery and the poverty of lowly America. I know this guy doesn't come from that sort of background, but nevertheless, that means there are a lot of very unknown lives amongst those superstars in America.
Do you know what one of the issues is, Porky, as well? And you're right with that, because
of course
if you do well in sport over here as a kind of youngster, you get a scholarship, a fully paid up scholarship, so you don't have to pay anything as well. And a lot of these families wouldn't be able to afford it. And suddenly you're going from living on the breadline and being part of a family that doesn't have much money to having far too much money and not knowing what to do with it. And that is an issue for a number of people. And by the way, for every Aaron Rodgers, there's a number of others out there that are in exactly the same position. It's all to do with advisors, and you know what it's like in sport with the hangers-on that say, oh, we'll get you this, that, and the other thing. There's so much money going around, sometimes on a number of occasions over here for the youngsters, too much.
Well, there's quite a lot of British kids now who take the opportunity of winning scholarships at American universities, aren't there, for golf and things like that?
There are, and the interesting thing is, for golf and for other sports, there's a few Brits in the NFL. J.H.I. was born in London and moved to the States. The problem you've got with football, with MLS soccer over here, is that they have the draft, which was last week. but a lot of the kids are not being in the draft until they have finished their education. So what you're finding is the 18, 19-year-olds are going over to Europe. So it's like a cross paths. The football players are going over to Europe so they can get paid quicker, but the kids in Scotland and England and Wales and Ireland, they're coming over here because this is where the money is.
Right. Exactly right. Aaron Rodgers' dad was a chiropractor in California, by the way.
Chiropractor.
So some chiropractor ghetto he came out of.
Not the ghetto.
Well, hang on. Chiropractors are sometimes con men.
That's nice. So you want to offend Aaron Rodgers' dad?
No.
Whose son is worth about $100 million.
No. I said sometimes. I think you're trying to make out chiropractic or
chiropractic.
Chiropractic, yeah. Or chiropractor is some sort of noble profession,
well,
it's
like
hardly ghetto, a doctor
it's
or a
hardly
dentist.
A ghetto profession, is it?
Yeah, but it's hardly, it's hardly Einstein stuff, is it? Anybody can be a chiropractor.
No, it's a medical
bloke lies
job.
down on a bed and you use your fingers to manipulate the muscles in his back.
You
need about.
If you're in Compton in Los Angeles, I'm not sure how many chiropractors have practices in Compton.
No,
Serena and Venus are from.
No, they have ways of manipulating your back, but they don't do it with their fingers usually.
Yeah,
that's right. With a 44,
yeah,
snub-nosed revolver.
To become one of the world's, best chiropractors, you need about 3 days training, basically.
Yeah. Poor Porky's been in the dentist chair for 3.5 hours this afternoon, Mark, which may explain his rapacious attitude to everything that we're doing. Let's talk about the tennis, because you're watching that for ESPN. Andy Murray's playing a little bit later on. No major surprises so far, really, are there?
Not really. I did the first match of Simona Halep, who lost, the number 4 seed, who for the 5th time in 8 years has been knocked out of the first round stage. Very impressed by Joe Conta of Great Britain. Andy Murray was decent in his first round match. Kyle Edmonds doing well. Dan Evans is coming into it in a bit of form. Heather Watson was in action yesterday. There's a lot of people think that Joe Conta could go a long way. She's in a tougher half of the draw with Serena's section as well. But the way she's playing right now, she's the form player, or one of them, in the women's game. So don't be surprised if she can emulate what she did last year, or maybe go even further.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. So, I mean, Andy Murray has
obviously
always wanted the Australian Open, hasn't he? I mean, is he going to get it this time?
I think he'll face Djokovic in the final. Will it be 6th-time lucky for Andy Murray? He's the number 1 seed. He's playing well. Lost to Djokovic in Qatar, but that was in 3 sets. I just don't know. I mean, you look at the men's tennis right now, boys, and you see, well, who, if it's not Murray and Djokovic, who's it going to be? I did Nadal last night. He was as good as he's been for a while after the wrist injury. Federer's in Murray's section of the draw. But I just can't see past the top 2. Yeah. If I was to pick one, I'd have Djokovic a slight favourite over Murray, but there's nothing between those two. Well, the problem we've got is that when they're gone, that's what happens. When Murray's retired, what does British tennis do?
Well, there's nobody coming up behind him, really, is there?
Well, you don't know. There might be somebody we don't know about.
Well, no, there's 1 or 2 players who are doing okay in the Davis Cups and who get into sort of the final rounds of smaller tournaments. Yes. But at the majors, there's not really anyone in the male side, is there?
No. Oh, you use the word okay, and that's spot on as well. There's players that are doing okay. Dan Evans is doing okay. Kyle Edmonds coming up as well. Aliaj Bedene as well, who's now British. But we're not going to get the level. And it's funny, we were talking about this earlier. I grew up with Scotland at every World Cup, and it just became, this is what happens. Yeah. Now, there's kids growing up now whereby Andy Murray wins Grand Slams. It's what happens. I tell you what, boys, you get a fright when something you're used to is no longer. And for this generation, in 10, 15 years, when Murray's gone, they'll get a bit of a surprise because there'll be no Brits at that level again.
There could be somebody, as we're speaking, down at Roehampton at the National Tennis Centre here, who could be the next big thing. The thing is, Andy Murray's going to win the Australian Open eventually, isn't he? And it may well be this year. How many times he lost the final? 6? I think he's lost 6 finals,
He's been in the final. This will be the 6th year.
Yeah, 6th year. That's what I'm saying. Well, a man like Murray just cannot suffer that many losses in one tournament without eventually winning it. He will win it.
Well, Ivan Lendl went to a number of finals before he eventually won a Grand Slam.
Yes.
I'd love to see him win the Australian because that would mean he's 3/4 of the way towards the Grand Slam. He's won the US. He's won Wimbledon a couple of times as well.
He came very close in the French last year, didn't he? So I think he's going to complete the set, Murray, and I think that he's got every chance this year of the Australian because I think the more he wins, the more likely he is to win, if you see what I mean, Mark. And this will be a really sort of niggle for him in the back of his head that he's got to the final in Australia so many times without completing the job.
Let's just ask Mark one final question. Sorry, Mark, go on.
Yeah. I was just going to say I don't think Federer or Nadal are going to win another Grand Slam. So if you take those two out of the equation, that lengthens the odds of anybody else and boosts the odds of Murray.
Exactly.
It does indeed, until such time as he starts to fade away a little bit. What have you made of... I wanted to ask you one specific question about Manchester City-Everton games. I mean, Pep Guardiola, some people think he's going to have to leave the country, basically, if things don't improve at Manchester City and go back to Spain. What's your take on it?
I think it started with Claudio Bravo when he brought him in. He had a good enough goalkeeper. He didn't fancy him with the ball at his feet, but he wasn't bad with his hands. He's now got a goalkeeper that's better with the ball at his feet, but can't use his hands to save very much. I think there's an issue here. He's been used to success wherever he's been. He's inherited good teams, but by goodness, he's making a dog's dinner of this, is he not? And the man, I mean, it's not me. It's the owners who've spent all this money to bring him in and to bring top wages to the club with top players. And they're outside the top four right now.
But Mark, it's his attitude as well. It's his attitude and his presentation skills. When you compare him to Jurgen Klopp, it makes Pep Guardiola look very, very poor. In terms of his ability to take pressure.
You're right.
I want you
to... right, and I wonder if he's disinterested right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he's finding it more of a struggle than he meant to do. Mark, I know you've got games to cover, so we'll let you go. You've got Joe Wilfred Songa coming up this afternoon, or this morning, I should say, at the Australian Open. Andy Murray playing a little bit later on. You'll be hearing that right here on Talk Sport. Loads more coming up.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
I know who that is.
Do you?
The guy with the big nose.
That's him.
And he plays the piano and he wears jumpers.
Sometimes.
And I interviewed him once at Les Ambassadeurs, the casino in London.
Okay.
When he was on a London tour.
Okay.
And his name is... He sings really smooshy songs like that one.
Well, he's written some very good songs.
He has written some good songs, yeah. What's his name?
I thought you were going to help me with that.
Yeah, I'm going to... Hang on. I used to call him Big Nose.
Yeah.
Because...
Did you call him that at Les Ambassadeurs?
No, I didn't, no.
That sounds like the sort of place you'd have got free Ferrero Rochers.
Yes, that's right. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Mr. Ambassador, you have such good taste.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Come on, you must know his name.
Oh, God, I wish I could remember now.
Well, I'll give you his first name.
Yeah, go on, yeah.
Barry.
Barry Manilow.
Very good.
Yes, thank you.
Well done.
Yes.
Now, there's loads and loads of tweets. There's so many, in fact, I'm going to have to try and rush through some of them. St. John says this: mashed potatoes in a packet, gravy in a box, vegetables in a tin. It's amazing Mike Parry can maintain his Adonis-like figure.
Well, I just have to work at it, It's all about exercise. I'll tell you about exercise later, by the way.
Yeah, OK.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you about some more kangaroo attacks in Australia as well.
It sounds horrendous.
Because I'm sure there's something very weird going on down there.
Yeah.
We may have to get Sandra Lee on again. Maxwell has sent a different picture of chicken gravy. Here we go, Tesco Finest, so that we're not just telling you get it in Waitrose.
Oh, I like that.
Tesco Finest,
like that.
and that is made with British chicken, which is rather good.
Yes.
We've also got the contents of the smash, which is this: a potato, 98%.
Yes.
Ingredients include salt, emulsifier, mono and diglycerides of fatty acids, stabilizer, disodium diphosphate, antioxidants, ascorbic acid, sodium metabisulfite, natural flavourings, and allergy advice says it contains sulfites.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound very good for you.
Well, is that a typical potato?
No, that's what's in Smash.
Oh, it's
those
in
are
Smash.
The ingredients
okay.
of Smash.
Well,
it's not what's in a potato. It's a potato.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but
you don't get what is inside a potato on the side of a potato because it's a potato.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, if you analysed a potato in a laboratory, it would have all those same properties,
no, it
wouldn't it? Of course
Absolute
it would.
rubbish.
Of course it would.
This Smash stuff is reconstituted from dehydrated potato matter.
Yeah,
it's nothing to do with potatoes.
Look. You dry a potato out, right?
Dry it out.
Yeah, dry it out. Okay.
Well, you don't have to just dry it out. You have to turn it into powder.
You dry it. Yeah, well, you can't turn it into powder until you dry it out. You dry it out. You smash it up a bit.
Dry it out?
Well, you extract all the moisture from within it.
How?
Well, you do it in a
you put it under a lamp.
Yes, you could do. You put it under lamps. That's absolutely right. Actually, it's a good idea. That you put it on a conveyor belt under lamps. It takes all the moisture out.
Okay.
And then what happens is it falls into a pit. where all these...
Pit of potatoes.
Yes, a pit of potatoes. Right. Where all these spiky sort of cylindrical things are chopping up into little bits, into flakes, and then they go into a packet to smash. Simple as that.
Well, how do they manage to make sure that they can preserve it so that it can stay in the supermarket shelves for months and months and months on end without going off?
Because they seal it in the bag, the smashed bag, which is airtight.
So you think you just add water to a smashed up potato and that's what it is?
Well, of course it is, because I've made it many times. In fact, it was very creamy when I ate it tonight. I got it to perfection, even though I said it myself.
OK. Are you sure someone's not just smacked you in the mouth, Porky, says Ant?
Well, no. I mean, in the sense that I was smacked in the mouth by... Do you know what they do, by the way? They have a set of tools like a mechanic for a car would have.
Yeah.
When they... I'm not joking.
Well, they have them on a tray, don't they?
Oh, yeah, and I looked at it, I said, what's that? He said, oh, that's my wrench, and that's my ratchet, and it was unbelievable. I mean, the
amount of stuff... Well, he said wrench and ratchet. He was being funny, presumably.
No, that's what they were.
He didn't actually use a wrench on you.
He did.
Did he?
A wrench and a ratchet.
Really?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Are you sure you were in a dentist?
Yes, I was, yeah.
Sure it was a quick fit you were in?
And by the way, you know, like, you know what a golf green is, obviously. You've played a lot of golf during your life.
Yes.
And you know when the guy
putting surface.
Yes, that's right. The guy comes along with that machine, which literally stamps a hole somewhere on the green every day in which to put the cup, in which the ball goes. They do exactly that with your gum. They have a machine which literally sinks a hole into your gum on your jaw, and within that they put a little metal.
It's like a hole. It's like a grip, isn't it?
That's right. And then within that they put a screw.
Yeah.
And that's what holds the tooth. You see.
Yeah, no, I know. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
it's not particularly revelatory.
So what I'm saying is, they are literally screwing. They do. They're screwing things into your mouth.
Absolute rubbish.
Believe me.
Burnett says, so Porky's just eaten a bowl of wallpaper paste, smash and gravy. Robbie says, at least all the dentists got into university and passed out, unlike Porky, who couldn't even handle the local polytechnic.
No, I found that my skills in life went beyond reading academica books. No problem at all.
Academica books.
Yes.
Dylan says, has the dentist connected the gas? Porky's microphone sounding more baffling than ever.
No.
Sure didn't give you any gas.
No, of course not. I'm just trying to explain things to you the way they are. That's what I like to do.
Robbie
give it
says,
straight.
Porky claims anyone can be a chiropractic, but he cannot even say the word. Typical, no respect. Big head Porky.
I don't know. Sometimes I despair of the fact that people seem to resent the extent to which I can... inform them of matters that are happening.
Steve says, I'm with Porky's mate Liam when he's saying, don't believe the tooth.
Don't believe the tooth?
Yeah, I don't think he's joking.
Is that a play on truth? I think it probably is. We appreciate your jokes. Don't worry about it.
Would you like the latest on the poll, by the way?
Yes, please.
It's now 56 to 44.
Well, there you go.
So
I'm still way ahead.
Well, no, you're not way ahead.
Of course I am.
The question is, as 99% of the audience are as disinterested in the NFL as you are.
Yes.
So actually, if you are to win it, you should get 100% yes.
No.
At the moment, you're doing 56%, which is hopeless.
That's a completely wrong principle, and you know it. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, well, we've got lots of other things to talk about. Andy says 10 or 15 years when Murray retires is what Mark Donaldson just said. I think more like 5 years. British tennis will be dark post-Andy.
Well, I'm not sure it'll be dark in 5 years, but you're absolutely right. I can't see Andy Murray going on for more than 5 years. I think all Mark was saying is in 50 years' time, we'll look back on the Murray years as the golden years of tennis,
I think that's right.
And I think he's right. Now, listen, we've talked about so many shortages, haven't we, over the last couple of weeks?
Well, you missed the one that now everybody's talking about. By the way, the spinach shortage.
Courgettes,
yeah.
Courgettes. I was just about to say to you, it's courgettes.
Yeah, but your mate Chris Evans put that out. He's another guy that you randomly attacked over the weekend.
What do you mean he put it out?
Chris Evans put it out.
I knew about courgettes.
No, you didn't. You told us about spinach, right?
I knew about courgettes
yesterday.
shortage.
The Spanish are now putting out a series of warnings saying that they are finding shortages of various salad-type foods, but not spinach. The Spanish are not short of spinach.
Well,
nobody else is short of spinach, but what they are short of is courgettes.
They may say that.
And broccoli.
They may say that. But I knew about the courgettes, and I was going to alert you to it. But I mean,
no, you're too late. Chris Evans has already done it.
Well, yeah, but listen, people who listen.
Why were we having to go at him the other day, by the way?
Hey?
Why were we having to go at Chris Evans?
I wasn't having to go at him.
Yeah, you were.
People who listen to Chris Evans don't necessarily listen to us. Rain in Spain causes pain as courgette shortage begins to bite.
Yeah.
Bad news for vegetable lovers and those on New Year health kicks. Britain's in the grip of a courgette famine. Shortage is blamed on bad...
famine.
Yeah.
You don't even eat courgettes, do you?
No, I don't like courgettes.
You don't like them?
No. Yeah, they're mushy and squashy. And,
well, they call them squash in America.
Yeah, I hate them, yeah. Shortage... Excuse me, I've always gone. I think it's with my mouth. It's the anaesthetic.
Yeah, you're talking too much, isn't it?
The shortage is being blamed on bad weather in southern Spain, where the majority of the UK's winter vegetables are grown.
Can I just ask you one question? Are you sure? Because normally you are ahead of the curve on these things, right?
Yes.
Are you sure that when you described the shortage the other day of spinach, you actually got it wrong and it should have been courgettes?
No, there's been
because all of the indications and all the indicators are that it's the same explanation.
No. Consumers have taken to social media to complain about the shortages and swap tips on where to find supplies. One communicator said, I have been to about 5 different supermarkets in the past week and there's nothing. It's an outrage. There are no courgettes.
And why is it an outrage?
I don't know.
The fact that there's no courgettes is not an outrage.
Shortage was confirmed by several large supermarket chains, although all claim to be working hard to source supplies.
Yeah. Well, no doubt they'll put the price up of courgettes and they'll be reappearing.
This to me is middle-aged snobbery. Anybody who's got time to go onto Twitter and complain about, there's no courgettes in my local supermarket, simply hasn't got enough to do in life.
Well, the point is...
They haven't got enough to do in life.
As I've often said to you, people get now outraged about absolutely everything.
Yeah.
It's an outrage that there's no courgettes. How in hell is it an outrage that there's no courgettes?
I don't know.
Use something else.
I don't know.
It's ridiculous.
Buyers from other European countries, including Italy, have been hit by severe frost since the start of the year and are now competing for limited supplies, which in turn pushes up wholesale prices.
Oh, there we go.
Courgettes are now costing €1 a kilo.
Bing. Well, you see, that is always the common denominator, isn't it? The prices go up, and people will pay more for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't cook much with courgettes. I quite like courgettes, but I don't use them.
Let me say this to you, because this is a mystery. I can't remember the last restaurant I was in that had courgettes on the menu.
Really?
And I have never, ever been to anybody's house or had anybody offer me courgettes in any form at all.
Really?
I think only weirdos must eat courgettes.
When was the last time you ate a courgette?
I don't think I've ever eaten one.
You've never eaten a courgette?
I mean, I've seen one on my plate and I've sort of, dabbled at it and tasted a little bit, but I've never eaten a courgette by choice.
Well, they're quite tasteless if you don't cook them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why do people eat them anyway?
Well, because you can cook them in things which make them more flavoursome, but they're quite sort of watery on their own.
Are they purple?
No, they're not purple.
What's the purple one?
That's eggplant in America.
Eggplant.
Aubergine in this country.
Aubergine.
Do you like those?
Yeah. No.
You don't like those?
That's the same sort of thing on the inside, isn't it?
No, completely different.
It is.
No.
It is.
No, if you cut a courgette open,
yes,
it's more like in America they have things like summer squash and winter squash, and it's a vegetable that grows in the ground. I actually grew courgettes when I was at university.
Really?
In my garden when we lived with a load of vegetarians.
Oh yeah.
And they were really good actually. They're really good. And if you cook them with tomatoes and mushrooms and a bit of oregano, it's a very nice little side dish.
Not sure I believe this.
Yeah, what do you mean don't believe it?
But anyway, look, there's a national shortage.
Time, by the way.
And guess what? I couldn't care less. Right. I've never eaten a courgette in my life.
Well, I'm going to tell you why you never see courgettes.
However, spinach worries me.
Yeah, spinach worries you, does it?
Yeah, shortage of spinach. Right. Yeah.
It's spinach phobic. We'll get into that a little bit later on. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. You can tweet us at the Two Mics, of course, if you want to send us an Ask Porky, or you can find us on the Facebook page as well, the Two Mics. So there's loads of good stuff going on. How about this from Scott? It says Porky probably hasn't seen courgette on your restaurant menu because they tend to use the term zucchini instead. Well, that's what they use in America.
Yeah,
but they don't really use it that much here.
I've not seen that expression either on a menu lately.
Have you seen courgette, by the way? Have you ever seen that?
What is it?
Courgette is a new form of, instead of having spaghetti with stuff, you have courgette, which is basically strips of courgette in the same kind of shape.
So what's this,
spaghetti.
like some sort of vegetarian dish?
Well, it's not a vegetarian dish. Yeah. It's supposed to be healthier for you than pasta, because pasta obviously is full of carbohydrates. It's got a lot of calories in it.
No, I wouldn't entertain that.
So some people are now eating, instead of pasta, something called courgette.
No, I wouldn't entertain that. And actually, I love spaghetti bolognese. It's one of my favourite dishes to cook.
Is it?
Yeah, I do a very good one.
Well, once we get the old recipe page up and running on the Two Mics website, we may well have your recipe for spaghetti bolognese on there.
Okay, that's great.
Along with the chicken casserole, because that's fascinating.
Yes, okay. And of course, remember, because at the moment I can only eat really soft, mushy food like mashed potato.
Why don't you eat soup?
Well, you can't eat soup. You can drink
of course
soup.
You can eat soup.
You can't eat it.
You can eat soup. Well, it depends on what kind of soup you're talking about.
You spoon it into your mouth. You don't actually eat it.
Yeah, but soup is very good for you, right? It's very nutritious.
I was going to say
you don't have to chew it, but you can have vegetable soup with chunky vegetables in it. You can still eat that.
Yeah, maybe. But spaghetti bolognese is nice and soft when you sort of mash it up and that kind of stuff, and I wouldn't want to replace that with courgette.
No, I don't think I would either.
I like the pasta.
Yeah, now I've got a bad news story for you here. This is about why you've never seen courgette, because I presume when you go to Wetherspoons, they don't do many courgette dishes there.
Well, yeah, but hang on. I went to a very nice restaurant, didn't I, just before Christmas to celebrate my birthday, took all the family, very high-class restaurant.
Oh, is this the Rubbing House?
The Rubbing House.
Well, I don't know, I've never been there. And, you say it's high-class, I don't know.
Oh, it's very high-class.
But that was just a lie.
No, it's very high class. No, it is very high class.
That's a line from a song, by the way.
What?
She said she was high class, but that was just a lie.
By the way, talking about high class, have you seen that one of the boasts from our friend, comrade Putin, Vladimir Putin?
Comrade, he's not my friend. Yeah, well, he might be your friend.
Well, he's actually come out in defence of Donald Trump.
Oh, there's a surprise.
And he said, I do not think that Mr. Trump succumbed, but nevertheless, he says, the Russian hookers are the best in the world. But I do not think that Mr. Trump succumbed to their temptation.
Quite right, too. Yeah. Well, he obviously hasn't seen the footage, has he? Or maybe he's seen it and he believes it not to be him. But, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with, I suppose, being proud of your exports if you're Russian.
That's right.
Yeah, it's all going to be very fascinating stuff. We'll be talking, actually, to the Times correspondent over in Washington, D.C.
Yes, that's right,
in early hours of Friday morning, just ahead of the Trump inauguration.
That's right.
To find out what the old temperature is over there.
That's right.
And in fact, fascinating.
Mr. Putin makes a point here. He says, at this time when Mr. Trump came to Moscow and all this was supposed to have happened, he was lured into a honey trap and all that kind of stuff, he said he wasn't any kind of political figure in those days, and nobody ever thought he was going to be. He was just another businessman.
Trump. Well, yeah, he was running the Miss Universe pageant.
Yeah, and he said we have thousands of businessmen who come to Moscow all the time. He was one of the richest people in America. Does someone think the special services run around after every American billionaire? Of course we don't. It's total nonsense. This is all stuff in films. Secondly, Trump arrived and the idea that Mr. Trump arrived and straight away ran off to meet a couple of Moscow prostitutes. This is an adult person, a person who has spent many years organising beauty contests, of which he was in charge at the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it does. The story.
So Vladimir Putin is saying it's absolute rubbish.
Well, I mean, everyone says it's absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
Which is why it's even more incredible that BuzzFeed would have bothered to publish it on the grounds that everybody else who'd looked at it didn't publish it, and then said, "Oh, actually, we can't verify this, but we're going to publish it anyway, and you can make up your own mind."
That's right.
I mean, if every newspaper in the world did that, they'd all soon be out of business. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that's right.
Nonsense. But here's a story about Wetherspoons that will not cheer you at all.
Okay.
About a woman who visited a Wetherspoons in Hackney, right? And she ordered the chicken wings dinner,
right?
And was appalled to find out that there was something which looked very like a worm of some description growing inside the thing.
Ooh, not good.
Which is horrible.
Well, it is horrible, but I mean, in fairness,
$7.99 chicken wings and fries.
Yeah, but in fairness, I mean, you've got to be honest here, Mike. We read a story every week about, a packet of salad in a supermarket which contains a frog or something like that. It happens all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, but, I mean, it doesn't happen all the time if you go to Wetherspoons, does it?
Well, it's very unfair to point out that it was a Wetherspoons restaurant.
No, it was a Wetherspoons.
Yes, but
in Hackney.
It happens in restaurants all the time. It happens in supermarkets all the time. And just to try and make out that Wetherspoons is, it's cheap dining, and therefore
I'll tell you something.
They have a problem. It's very unfair. Wetherspoons is very good value for money.
I'll tell you something. Yeah. There's a chain of Mexican restaurants in London called Oaxaca, right? In fact, there's a few of them around the country. And they're very, very popular, or were very popular until about 2 months ago. 5 of the restaurants in London had to be shut down because they had somehow managed to give food poisoning to all their customers. Well, now, those restaurants are, I would say, are half full now compared to what they used to be.
Right.
And I personally haven't been to one and will probably not go back to one.
Yeah, okay.
Because in that kind of situation, you don't want to risk your health.
Yes.
Now, if you could, I'm not going to show you this picture because I know you're a bit squeamish.
Yes.
But if I saw somebody serving me something like that in a restaurant, I would never go back there.
Well, I don't blame you.
I would never go back to any one of their other chains either.
I don't blame you as an individual personally, but then to read it happening to somebody else and then suddenly to condemn the whole chain.
No, it's happened. I mean, I'm not condemning the whole of Oaxaca, but I would not go back now to that chain of restaurants, which I used to go to quite a lot because of what they allowed to happen.
And when you read, these stories that we read all the time, there's at least one a week. Oh, a frog's been found in a packet of salad, or a snail, or something like that. Would you then ban?
That's different.
Ban those supermarkets from your patronage for the rest of your life?
No, I wouldn't.
Well, why is it different?
Well, it's different because supermarket food is packaged in all sorts of different places, right?
Yep.
Sometimes they get a banana spider comes in with the bananas from the Caribbean.
Exactly, yeah.
That kind of thing is relatively unavoidable. If you're producing food and cooking food in a kitchen for people, which you're then asking them to pay money for, that is a very different situation. You're in control of your environment, and you're not in control always of the food that comes to a supermarket. So I would say that is more understandable.
Well,
yeah,
okay, but
I think that's a pretty good explanation.
All I would say is when you think of the scale of the dining and and restaurant business in this country, which is immense, we're the 5th biggest economy in the world.
Yeah.
There's going to be mistakes made like that, and frankly, I would understand a mistake like that. Wouldn't like it at all, but you'd have to put up with it.
How about this from Andy? He says the Rubbing House on Epsom Downs is on a par with the Toby Carvery. It is not a high-class restaurant by any means. Hashtag plank.
And sorry, who's that coming from?
This is from Andy, who's a Chelsea fan.
Oh, really? And what's Andy's credentials to suddenly become a restaurant critic?
Well, I don't know.
For restaurants on the edge of Epsom Downs,
but he's obviously
which is one of the most affluent areas of this country.
Well, he might be, but he's not keen on the restaurant.
Well, in that case, that's fine, Andy, but, don't smear, my ability to choose a good restaurant by trying to anonymously
I'll tell you
lay
what I'm
that sort of thing on me.
I'm going to have a look at them online. I'll tell you it's a decent restaurant.
That's a good
I'll
idea.
be able to judge by their menu. How about this from Dom? Porky's completely oblivious to MG quoting Hound Dog by one of his heroes, Elvis.
Oh, yeah.
Hashtag plank.
Hang on, Elvis has never been particularly one of my heroes.
No?
No, I mean, I think...
But you like his music, though?
Some of it. I don't like... No, I don't. I like some of it, but I'm not, I'm not into all the old Deep South stuff.
Right. Well, Hound Dog you like, don't you?
Ain't nothing but a hound dog.
Well, I just quoted you a line from it, and you completely went right over your head.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's because I'm busy and I've got things to think about.
Yeah, you're just not listening. St. John says this. I'm surprised that when Mike Parry was asked about the courgette, he didn't say what a great player he is.
Yeah, well, I was going to actually say that's not a brand of car I've driven.
Yes.
But I didn't because I thought you were probably talking about some kind of a food.
That would have been a bit glib, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, by the way, this kangaroo story, the kangaroo phenomenon, I would say, is getting worse.
And we discovered it.
Yeah, we did. We actually alerted everyone to it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
We talked to Sandra Lee about it last week. I think this may have a bearing on whether we go to Australia
and
do a show there, because I think
all kangaroos seem to have gone mad.
Do you remember that movie, The Birds?
Yes.
And the birds in Alfred Hitchcock's film all started to go a bit crazy.
Yes.
I think something similar is going on. I mean, look at this picture of a kangaroo, right? Yeah. He's up against a woman's window.
Yes.
And he's trying to get in.
I know. And
he's up on his hind legs
to try
and he's bashing, the window like that, right?
It's horrible.
And this happened in a suburban street in Australia.
It's almost like some mad scientist has got a kangaroo beam.
Yeah.
And he's turning kangaroos' brains so that they're becoming his private army.
I know.
You know what I mean?
It's very, very strange.
We're going to attack society and bring it down with my army of kangaroos.
Yeah. Well, they're obviously quite intelligent creatures.
Of course they are.
This particular piece that I've been reading, it comes with some advice. Do you remember the famously you gave advice about what to do if a bear comes towards you?
Yes.
Apparently, an Australian wildlife expert has warned people to run as fast as they can.
Oh, right,
if a kangaroo is ever nearby.
You wouldn't get away.
Well, he says that they're unlikely to follow you very far. He says one of the most important things you can do is crouch down low and back away, because remember when Sandra was explaining that woman jogger was attacked?
Yes.
So they do this kind of roundhouse kung fu kick.
That's right,
So they catch you in the chest.
Yes.
So if you're down low, they can't do that.
Yeah.
So apparently get behind a bush, get behind a tree.
Yeah.
It won't chase you very far, he says.
Well, there's 3 instances so far to be wary of.
Yeah.
The first one that we identified was a kangaroo that literally jumped through the bedroom window of a couple and into their bed.
That's right.
The second one was when a woman jogger, as you've just explained, was suddenly attacked by a kangaroo who tried to kick her to death with its big, huge feet.
And she needed loads of stitches.
Yeah, it didn't punch with its top paws. It was its bottom paws, its feet. The third one now we've got is a kangaroo trying to break into somebody's home.
Yeah.
This is has something gone wrong? Is there a kangaroo army on the march?
Yeah, well, it's certainly something to worry about. And I mean, for those of us who are thinking of going to Australia, I think it's quite alarming. But we'll get Sandra on at some point and talk to her about it.
Definitely.
This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Ask Porky coming up in the next hour, of course. And it's Porky Vision tomorrow night, which we are promised is going to include a little section on taboo, which should be very interesting.
Yes.
And, of course, we have to figure out a Porky quiz.
Porky quiz,
which
yes.
we haven't done yet. I mean, it is the inauguration of the President of the United States of America.
Yes.
So we could do something around that.
American presidents.
You want to do American presidents?
American presidents is fine by me.
I'm pretty sure we've done American presidents.
I think we have in the past, but this is very relevant, isn't it?
It is.
So, no, I can't remember what the quiz was last time.
I mean, there's no reason not to kind of go over a bit of old ground.
Yeah.
But we can just have a slightly different American presidents quiz.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
All right, I'll pass that on to the independent quizmaster.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll do that.
Now, talking about people at the top of society, like American presidents and all that,
Right.
I was telling you some stories about Princess Margaret just
you were
last
you
week.
were explaining
because,
how
of course,
she fell out of cars. And
that's
things.
right. Tony Armstrong-Jones, who became Lord Snowden, her husband, sadly passed away last week.
He did.
I related the tale about the fact that I went out drinking with him one night, but he wouldn't buy a drink because he didn't carry money because he was royalty, which isn't the greatest way to bond with your fellow journalist because, of course, he was a world-renowned photographer. But anyway, listen, I've been...
He also said that he never bought a round.
That's what I
that
said.
was the inference.
Never put his hand in his pocket all night. Didn't want to.
No.
Took drinks from everybody else.
Yeah.
Not good. But anyway, not in the sort of brotherhood of journalism and all that.
Well, exactly.
But anyway, there's been a lot written about him, obviously, since he died, and by common association about Princess Margaret.
Yeah.
And the story that was highlighted in a piece I read was one that I heard years ago, because she had a place in Mustique, didn't she?
She did.
She was given a
In
piece
fact,
of land
I
there.
walked past it.
Really?
Yeah, because I went to Mustique back in the sort of, I guess, late 80s.
Yeah.
Sailing trip.
Right.
And David Bowie's house was there, Mick Jagger's house, and right behind it was Princess Margaret.
That's right, yeah, and it was given to her
Amazing
by
place.
that guy who was the businessman who became her lifelong friend.
Right?
Roddy.
Was it Roddy Llewellyn?
No, Roddy Llewellyn was her toy boy lover.
Right.
Who was the brother
Well, who
of
was the
Di
other guy,
Llewellyn. The other guy was Lord. What was his name? Colin. Somebody. Colin.
Oh, I know the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it Lord Glengower? Or something like that?
Glencower or something like
Glencower,
that.
yeah.
Glencower, something like
That's
that. And when she first met him, it was amazing. When she got married to Lord Snowden, they went off on the royal yacht, for their honeymoon.
The Britannia.
Yeah, the Britannia.
Yeah.
People can't remember who are young, but there used to be a boat called the Royal Yacht Britannia, and it was the official boat of the royal family. And Diana and Charles, for instance.
It's first up in Edinburgh now, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. It is in that dock where
Leith
we
Docks.
stayed. Leith Docks, yeah. But anyway, so
Well, the Ocean Terminal, I think, actually.
that's the Ocean Terminal, right. And Charles and Diana went off on the Royal Yacht Britannia on their honeymoon. That's how recently it was still in use. But anyway, she went off on this, and they were gliding past this island, which was hardly known to anybody. And she said, "Isn't it beautiful? Let's stop." So they stopped and they got a boat over.
Right.
There was only one resident, and it was Lord Glenn Connor.
And was this? Are you talking about Mustique?
Mustique.
Yeah.
They glided past this island,
Yeah.
and it was hardly even on the maps or something. She said, "Oh, it's beautiful. Why don't we go and have a picnic on the beach?"
Yeah.
So they, took the old boats from the Britannia.
Yes,
What
the
do you call it?
launch.
The tender.
They call it the launch, don't
The
they?
launch, that's right, yeah. And they go over on the island, and then this guy turns up, it's Glenn Connor.
Right.
And, he's only got a pair of shorts on. And he's riding on an elephant, because he'd imported
Riding
a
on
couple
an
of
elephant?
elephants. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. And he said, "Who are you?" And she said, "Well, He said, "Are you really?" And she said, "Who?" He said, "Well, this is my island. I own it."
Right.
Oh, she said, "All right." And anyway, they got to know each other.
Because it's got a little airstrip as well.
It has now, didn't have in those days. So they got to know each other very well because she stayed for a week. She said it was such a paradise, you know what I mean? And the yacht was just berthed out, in the water, obviously, and she came ashore every day and then went back and stayed on the yacht. Anyway, she said, "Look, we'd love to stay here forever, but, life goes on. Well, we've got to move on now. We've got to go." He said, "Okay." He said, "Well, look," he said, "I haven't any material possessions I can give you as a present to a royal princess. Why don't I give you a bit of my island?"
Yes.
She said, "Really?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Look," he said,
Charming.
So he gave her the strip, and of course, in years to come, she went back and built a house there, as you quite rightly say, with Mick Jagger and David
But
Bowie.
presumably she didn't build a house as in the way that they did, i.e. paid for it. They probably say presumably he provided it for her, didn't he?
I've no idea how it all worked out, but the subsequent story is this.
Yeah.
She then used to have these elaborate parties on Mustique.
Yeah.
But the problem was, if you went to them, you had to obey all the rules, which dictated that everything she wanted to do was the way things were done.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if there were like 20 house guests, you'd all sit down for dinner at the same time at night.
Right.
And she
Well,
would
you would expect that, wouldn't you?
Yes, but she would always be served first.
Yeah.
And the problem was, she had no sort of grace about anything because she was Princess Margaret. So the minute the food was put in front of her, she started eating. So the 20th guest, who was served 20th,
right.
when he got his dinner, or she got hers...
Surely they must have had more than one waiter.
No, honestly, this is. I read this in one of my Royal
Journals.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So she was a very quick eater as well. And the minute the food was put in front of her, she would start eating and still talking to people, which, again, I think is very rude. If anybody ever tries to talk to me while they're eating, and people have done it on the phone, I'll just put the phone down.
Oh, you can't do that on the phone?
No, I think it's
That's
disgusting.
horrendous. No, I agree with you on that. That is awful.
I actually had a boss once, right, who thought it was clever to put the phone on speaker on the table and keep eating his Sunday lunch, you know, whilst talking to me. I would just put the phone down. And then, amazingly, I get a call back to him and say, I think I lost your line there. I said, no, you didn't. He said, I'm sorry, I gathered that you're having your Sunday lunch. I didn't want to bother you. When you finish Sunday lunch, ring me back, you know.
Right.
What? You know, and didn't realise it was being utterly...
That is awful.
Disgusting
awful,
and rude.
Yeah.
But anyway, point of the story is, she was a fast eater, so... She'd get stuck in as soon as the food was in front of her. And the old 20th guest, I mean, you're probably right, it's probably more than one waiter, but there certainly weren't 20 waiters, wouldn't get his food or her food till about 5 or 6 minutes later.
Right.
So when Princess Margaret had finished eating and slammed her knife and fork down, everybody else had to stop eating. So the poor guy...
I'm surprised she was like that, actually. I would have thought she'd be more sort of relaxed.
Not at all.
I mean, people do have, I suppose, a misconception about the royal family.
Well, this is in the 50s as well, remember?
And they have been very... I mean, Prince Charles meant to be an incredibly arrogant guy.
Yes, exactly.
Who would never do anything for himself.
Exactly.
And he may well have changed now, but certainly there was a time.
Well, he had that guy called Fawcett, didn't he?
Right,
Who used to squeeze the toothpaste out of the tube onto his... Well, he was known as...
And the other allegations.
He was known as Fawcett the Fence,
that's right.
Allegedly, because every time Prince Charles was given an expensive present, it was, can we put this into storage, Fawcett?
Yeah.
And Fawcett would go and flog it to some second-hand car
somewhere
dealer.
in Victoria.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, allegedly.
Supposedly,
and with the knowledge of Prince Charles.
Of course.
Yeah. But anyway, the point of my story is that so she'd slam a knife and fork down. This was in the 50s, so royal protocol was she was like a goddess, you know, on earth.
Right.
And the minute she did that, everybody else had to stop eating. So the poor guy or woman who'd been served 20th only ever got 2 mouthfuls of food and had to stop eating.
And presumably the same would apply to later on in the evening, post-dinner, when the drinks would flow. Yeah. And if she goes to bed, does everybody else have to go to bed?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So some nights she'd be in a right great old mood, you know, so we're going to party all night. Yeah. And she also liked to sit at the piano and play the piano badly.
Right.
You know, because she wasn't a pianist as such, but she used to drink a lot, an awful lot, and then she'd be in the mood for singing. We'll all have a sing-song. And some people who'd been out swimming all day or hiking around Mustique or something like that were ready to go to bed at 1 o'clock, and she would sometimes stay up till 5:30 a.m. Nobody else went to bed until the Princess Margaret had finished on the piano.
Right.
And conversely, as you quite rightly say, if she'd had an all-day session on the pink gin and tonics and wanted to go to bed at 10:30 at night, everybody else went to bed at 10:30 at night.
Well, I suppose if you want to hang around in a royal company, that's the price you pay.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd have rather been round at David Bowie's house.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
I'm sure you'd have a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Fabulous hotel there, actually, called the Cotton House, which is where I went. Because when I went there, the only way you can stay on the island of Mustique, the only way you can even go there is either if you're staying in the Cotton House Hotel,
that's right,
which is right on the top of the island, and you fly in to get to that, or if you come in on a boat. So basically, I mean, there's no indigenous people living there as such. It's just a sort of an island for very, very famous
wasn't
people.
The guy who controlled everything? Basil,
yeah. There was a place called Basil's Bar.
That's right.
Which was right down on the shore.
Yes, that's right.
And so we, anchored our yacht. We had this very nice 60-foot yacht.
Yes.
And took a little dinghy in. And went to Basil's Bar, which was a fabulous place, run by this massive, huge, big black guy called Basil.
That's right.
Who was like sort of a bit like Baz Mammy Boy. Who knew everyone
and sort of controlled the island.
And basically controlled the island. Yeah, because if you didn't come, I mean, you couldn't just kind of. You couldn't get there any other way, basically.
Yes, that's right.
And we had a very nice evening there. And then, unfortunately, I forgot that my shorts were full of things like my lighter and all, because I volunteered to push the boat back towards the...
And maybe a nefarious...
what?
Nefarious substance or two?
No. Absolutely not. I was on holiday.
Oh, you're in Mustique on holiday. It's all right.
You don't go around buying drugs on holiday in the Caribbean. Is that what you're referring to?
No.
I certainly do not do anything like that.
No.
But I had a very nice brass Zippo lighter, which had been given to me as a present, and it was ruined because I walked into the sea up to my waist as I pushed the other guys in the dinghy to get them out to the.
Thing to
well,
do,
it was, but I'd quite a lot to drink by then.
Yeah.
And so that was the end of that lighter. Unfortunately, it was a great trip.
Yeah, but it was.
The other place called Macaroni Beach, where everyone goes surfing.
Macaroni, I like it. Yeah. And the other little tale was I mean, it's very well known that Princess Margaret liked to drink. So anyway, sometimes she'd be getting driven off to somewhere like, what's the place in East Anglia where the fair? Sandringham, yeah. So she had her own chauffeur. She had this guy, what was his name?
Well, you'd expect her to have her own chauffeur.
Yeah, but I mean, he like there is a rota of royal chauffeurs, you know what I mean? And sometimes, but she insisted on the same guy all the time. So what would happen was, a chauffeur was called Larkin.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very royal name for a chauffeur, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Her chauffeur was Larkin.
Philip Larkin.
No, her name was Larkin. Anyway, so she would always insist on stopping at least 3 or 4 pubs on the way to Sandringham.
Yeah.
And I mean, like public houses, you know what I mean? And old Larkin used to have a scruffy old donkey jacket in the back of the car, which he had to take off his chauffeur's uniform.
Leave her in the car?
No. Honestly, this is the story I read. He would take off his chauffeur's jacket and hat and put him in the car, and he'd put on this old donkey jacket, and a flat cap. And she would put a scarf around her head and wear a pair of glasses.
Right.
He'd go in on the scouting mission to the pub, find a quiet corner, reserve the table, and then she'd walk in behind him, sit down, and he'd just go up to the bar and order all the drinks and take them over to Princess Margaret. And she'd do that 2 or 3 times on the way up to Sandringham.
Right.
And I admire her spirit for that, actually.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, fascinating woman.
Yes.
And a shame that she, funnily enough, I mean, it was as a result of something that happened in Mystique that she ended up dying, because, I mean, she got into that very, very hot bath and burned her feet and legs terribly, and she never really recovered from that.
We have to suspect that she may have been under the influence of...
It's entirely possible.
Yeah.
But that's really not the sort of thing we should be getting into.
Well, no, but I mean, the point is, to get into a boiling hot bath and burn yourself so badly, she may have been intoxicated at the time. That's the problem.
But it was a shame.
It's a terrible shame, because she was a party-loving sort of girl.
She was indeed.
Yeah.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about Formula One, because they're going to change some more rules coming up for the new season. And we're going to talk to Todd McCandless and find out what they are. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. We have decided to do a Porky quiz on the American presidents, although it has been suggested, just for a bit of slight difference, you could do one on Washington, D.C., since you used to live there, if you wish.
Yes, OK.
Would you prefer that?
Yes, Washington, D.C. is fine.
Washington, D.C.
Fine by me.
All right, so that'll be the quiz, because that will be early Friday morning, just ahead of the Trump inauguration, of course.
Excellent.
Now, a lot of things might change in the United States over the next 4 years.
Yes.
One of them may be, because of the interest now in Liberty Media and the Formula One business, there might be more Formula One races over there. But let's talk to Todd McCandless from Formula1blog.com to find out what the new rules are in place for next year and what they're going to do. Todd, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, not at all.
Scott, thanks for coming on. Great.
It's Todd.
Sorry?
Todd.
I said Todd.
I thought you said Scott.
No, I said Todd.
Did you?
Yes, I did indeed.
Right.
Todd, I'm sorry.
It's
great having the show. Thank you very much indeed. With the Formula One motor racing season starting in March in Australia, which traditionally is always where it starts, Todd.
Yeah, watch out for the kangaroos.
Watch out for the kangaroos. They're going mad over in Australia. But, Todd, the one issue which I think is absolutely fascinating, because I was talking to a friend of mine who is a correspondent who will be in Australia, is that the cars for the next season are going to have tyres which are 25% wider than they've ever been before, which means they'll go much, much faster because they grip the road more than ever. And in fact, they're going to reach speeds unheard of even 2 or 3 years ago. Where is this going to put the test of car versus driver, which is the central issue of Formula One motor racing?
Well, it's a great point, Mike. I'm glad you brought it up. The fact is that many people believe that the series has moved too far. The pendulum has swung too far to the engineering wonk side of the equation, and we've really left the chassis and driver behind. So the new regulations are going to have front tires much wider, a lot more grip. The rear wings will be lower, the front wings swept back. The cars are going to be a lot more aggressive looking, and they'll be up. Well, they're predicting around 40 kilometers an hour faster through the high-speed corners than they have been last year. The intent was to increase the overall lap time, or decrease it, if you will, by 5 seconds. Now, since the new regulations came out in 2013, we've clawed back 2.5 of that, or 3. So we've got a couple of seconds to go. But you're absolutely right. This is going to move the pendulum back to the center, put a little bit more grip and mechanical grip into the driver's hands. It should be exciting.
And when you say more speed as well, I mean, how much more speed are we talking about? Sort of 10% more, 20% more, what?
Yeah, the prediction is that last year, I read a Pirelli statement that said that the teams were running at 30% throttle, full throttle during the lap, and they're going to be closer to 70% full throttle. The point here, Mike, is that it isn't going to be necessarily straight line or top line speed. It's going to be the amount of speed that they can carry through the corners, medium and high speed corners, where they used to have to lift off the throttle and brake harder. In this case, they're going to be able to go faster through those corners and decrease lap time. So what that knock-on effect is, Mike, is that you might be pulling 4 or 5 Gs through some of these corners, which is a real neck stretcher.
Well, funny you should say that, Todd, because my next question to you was going to be this. I heard one Formula 1 motor racing driver saying that an increasing part of their training schedule now involves what you've just said, neck muscle training, because the strains and the stresses on going round a hairpin bend, at like 100 miles an hour while the car is still gripped to the road surface, it's almost like being a fighter pilot.
Yeah, it's exactly right. If you think about it, 5 Gs, that's the 5 times the weight of your head pulling on your neck to the opposite direction. And it's very difficult for these drivers to maintain that. And if a lot of these circuits are going to be much faster, then they're going to experience those kind of loads. And imagine also, if you will, the kinds of loads and violent behavior that these cars are going to experience with these wide, grippy tires.
Yeah.
So if you've ever questioned if these guys are athletes, you got to stop questioning that.
I mean, surely something's got to give eventually, hasn't it? If you've got a car which is, being torn apart at every corner, but it can't tear itself apart because of the grip on the road with these massively extra wide tyres, how do we know what's going to happen? It's going to be, suck it and see a bit, isn't it, in the first few races?
Yeah, I think what we're going to end up seeing is a lot of the predictions. There's 2 narratives here, Mike. One of the fact is that Formula One want to bring back the excitement of the sport. They want to spice up the show. The fact of the matter is they may be playing a lot of these elements up. We'll have to see how it pans out in Australia. Also, one of the things to keep in mind, and not to be a naysayer, but the sport has decided to go down from 5 engines a season per car down to 4.
Yeah.
And if you imagine, these cars are going to be so much more violent, so much more stressed, so much more open throttle, so much faster. I'm just questioning whether 4 engines is going to be enough. We could see, as you're saying, some attrition and some real mechanical issues.
And so what, if they've used 4 engines and their engine blows up, they're out of the races for the rest of the year?
They have 4 engines for the entire year. Now, they can take more than that, but every time they take an additional engine, they get a grid penalty. They start at the back of the grid.
Right. The other interesting thing will be, I suppose, and this might be a minor point, but if the tyres are wider and all of these guys are so well trained at how close they can go to each other, suddenly that equation changes because the cars are going to be slightly wider as a result of that.
Is the track going to be wider?
Well, the point is that they might go too close too often, and there might be more collisions at the beginning.
Well, that's a good point because it will. You get used to your front where your front right fender is or your front left fender is. If these cars are a little wider, it's going to take these drivers a little bit to get comfortable with how wide they are. I'll tell you where it could play into effect is when you think of the Armco barrier streets of Monaco.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to pass at Monaco as it is, but we put 22 wider cars on there. It's going to be very tough to pass.
It's going to be very tough indeed. So we put all that into place then, and we say to ourselves, right, so there's now an even greater reliability on the car rather than the driver. However, nevertheless, doesn't look like there's anybody much around to be able to touch Lewis Hamilton, except for the fact I'm told that with these wider tyres, the Red Bull cars become more competitive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're spot on, actually. It's the fact is that Lewis Hamilton lost the championship last year. We know that's like swallowing a huge pill. He hates it. He's furious about that. He'll be gunning to win the championship this year, no doubt about it. He's a passionate driver. However, with the wider tires, these are the biggest regulation changes in recent memory for Formula One.
Yeah.
And anytime you change the regulations this dramatically, there can be real winners or losers. Guys, you think back of 2009, Ross Brawn and Brawn GP that came out with that trick dual diffuser, and they won the championship with Jenson Button. That was over creative reading of the regulation changes. Red Bull's Adrian Newey is an aerodynamic genius, and that team with an improved Renault engine could be very competitive this year.
Of course. And, I mean, the fact that Nico Rosberg's not going to be there this year, the fact that Bottas is the new partner for Lewis Hamilton, that's going to be a new dynamic as well. But I guess a lot of the changes that we might see over the next 12 months is as a result of Liberty Media's involvement and their wish to try and make it a more level playing field and try and bring more races to the United States.
Yeah, that's you bring that up. It's impeccable timing, Mike. They just announced a few hours ago. They released a press release. Liberty Media today just voted at their board level, and here in Inglewood, Colorado, in America, they just voted today and approved the final push forward to acquire a majority share of Formula One.
Right.
So they are one big step closer to doing that. Now, Liberty Media is a media giant. They're going to be very, very keen to make Formula One, to get the viewership up, to get the show back, to get the entertainment package back. I hopefully I can say this as an American, as a Yankee. I promise. I hope we don't over-Americanize it, as we tend to do with big events like NFL and everything else. But they're very keen to make this sport get back to an entertaining series, and these regulations, I think they're going to welcome that.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't helped, has it? The current world champion has decided to quit just as he got there. I mean, I've got I've got terrible negatives, for Rosberg for doing this. I think if you're a champion,
it may not have any effect on a new market like the US.
Well, it may not have an effect, but I personally, Todd, think that any champion who's just ascended to the crown must at least defend it for at least 1 year.
Yeah, you're not alone, and I think that's the main criticism, even from some of the well-known Formula One pundits like Martin Brundle at Sky Sports.
Yeah.
You listen to a lot of these guys that have been around a long time as Formula One drivers, and they said, look, he retired so early, and they wonder if his passion for racing is really spent or if he retired too early. And a lot of people, even Lewis Hamilton, saying, I would defend it. If you win a championship, you got to defend it.
Exactly.
Now, I guess the next thing we look out for, Todd, is the actual unveiling of the new style cars. Renault, I'm told, are looking at Tuesday, February the 21st, and then Force India are going to be coming out. When are we going to see the Lewis Hamilton new car?
Yeah, I think Mercedes is right there. They're all in line, and that's all centered around the first test of the season, mid-February. So that's when you're going to see all the cars, or a majority of them, will be released at that time. Those cars that we'll see at that time, Mike, are basically show cars.
Right.
They aren't exactly what we're going to see on the grid in Australia come the first race, but there'll be livery cars, and they'll have the new color schemes and those kind of things.
Right.
And we'll see those here in just a few weeks' time.
Yeah, amazing. It comes around very fast. Listen, Tom, thank you very much indeed. Tom McCandless there from Formula1blog.com, giving us the lowdown on the new Formula One season. Hard to believe that it's just a few weeks away when we're going to see the new cars and the new big tyres and all that.
A couple of months yet, actually.
No, February 21st. I mean, you're talking less than a month.
So is that the first race?
No, that's the first unveiling of the new cars.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
So,
first race is mid-March.
Yeah, but by the time we get halfway through February, you're really nearly quarter of the way through the year, especially for your financial year comes to an end already.
Well,
how about this from Westrin, complaining about some of your remarks on the show so far? Porky wouldn't know high class if it bit him on the ass.
Yeah.
And
that's a bit crude, isn't it, for a family show?
Yeah, I know, it's a family show. It's all right. It's 2:43 in the morning. Here's one from Becky. I once found a cockroach in a salad on an Emirates flight, and they kindly gave me first-class return ticket to anywhere in the world.
Wow, that's beautiful.
James says, that
certainly stops you complaining.
I used to always find hairs in my chili con carne at Wetherspoons.
What?
And also, Andy
would just make these up.
Andy
honestly
has come back and said, the guy that you said didn't know anything about fine dining. He says, for fine dining near Epsom, try the RAC Club, Woodcote Park, or the Grumpy Mole in Walton. You know the Grumpy Mole in Walton?
Yeah, I've been there. Been to the Grumpy Mole in Walton. Yeah. There's about 5 Grumpy Moles, actually, within the space of about 10 square miles. And they are good. I've also been to the RAC. That's a golf club. That's golf.
Well,
that's
the RSC golf. Well, a friend of mine used to be a member of the RSC in the mall.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
we used to go there, and we spent a bit of time there in London.
Yeah,
but their golf club is in Epsom. Very nice.
Right. And what was the third place called?
I've forgotten now.
Yeah.
Well, I can't just remember what I just told you.
But anyway, Scott here says apparently the rubbing house doesn't have any Michelin stars, but it does have several Michelin tyres in the car park.
Well, I've been able to obtain, thanks to one of our listeners, the menu. We're going to go through that.
Yeah, indeed. But we only talked about Mr. Michelin the other night, didn't we? The guy invented the Michelin stars.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
Indeed.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down, when you're strange. Faces come out of the rain when you're strange.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Coming up in the next hour, it's going to be Ask Porky, of course. Already got loads and loads of good questions. Some still coming in. They do have to be pretty good to make it at this late stage of the game, I have to say. Here's one from Peter. He says, the rubbing house, one notch up from a beef eater.
I completely resent and reject that. I'm sorry.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Is this your favourite place in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey, then?
Well, it's not my favourite place, but it's a very nice place, very good place.
Right.
And
well, I've obtained a copy of the menu.
Yes, okay.
And I have to say, it looks all right, but I mean, it does look very kind of formulaic, shall we say. It doesn't look like what you would call a fine restaurant. It looks like a sort of an upmarket pub, really.
No.
Because they've got things like, fish dishes, Mediterranean prawns, salmon fillets, smoked haddock, fish and chips.
That all sounds very nice,
fillet of sea bass. Yeah, it's all right.
Yes.
But it's not what you would call a fine restaurant. Main courses, gammon steak. I presume you had that. Served with chips, peas, pineapple and fried egg.
No, I didn't have that, no.
Gourmet
hang on, excuse
burger.
me. At Claridge's, you can get fish and chips.
Yes, you can get... Why would you go to Claridge's for fish and chips?
But you can get them there, can't you?
Well, probably. I don't know. I've never eaten at Claridge's.
Of course you can. You can get fish and chips at the Ritz.
Well, I've never eaten at the Ritz either.
Fish and chips at the...
Ever since our encounter
rubbing
with
house,
the man who cannot be... Yeah, but you can tell by looking at a menu what sort of stuff they have, right?
Oh, rubbish.
And you've got inside-out chicken Kiev, right? Sausage and mash, shepherd's pie, half a barbecue roast chicken.
Yeah, but they're all trendy, sort of,
not
modern
trendy.
British menu.
No. This is a very ordinary...
items.
I don't know how good it is, but it's a very unimaginative menu.
No.
Is all I'm saying.
No.
They've got all the things you'd expect a decent pub to have.
I go there.
Homemade soup of the day, breaded deep-fried garlic mushrooms, white bait, prawn and crayfish cocktail, fresh mussels. I mean, it's not particularly exciting.
Yeah, but that's all the stuff I like. That's why, and that's what my family like, and that's why I take them there.
Listen, if you like it, then you should not worry about what anybody says about it.
No, I don't.
But don't pretend
I'm not at all worried.
But don't pretend it's fine dining, because it isn't.
I'm not at all worried, mate. Don't worry about that.
Well, I'm not worried about it. All I'm saying is it's not fine. It's not a fine dining scenario.
Well, you say that, but
I'm sure it's very nice and very pleasant, but it is not what you would call a place that you would go for a special occasion, best food you've ever had.
Well, that's only your judgment, mate.
It's not just my judgment. I know a lot more about restaurants than you do.
And you see, you're getting all grumpy now because I'm telling you that you're being
I can tell by the menu. I can tell by the menu that it is not as you are describing.
You can't
There's nothing
tell
wrong with
anything.
That. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. How about
you think because you go shopping in Borough Market, which you've
I know a bit more about my food than you do.
You convinced millions of our listeners. Borough Market, it's the place for fine shopping for food and all that.
Well, if you enjoy food as I do...
It's a market, right?
No, it's not.
It's a market.
No, it isn't. No,
it's like millions of other markets in the world.
Like which other markets?
Like other markets that are, too many to name.
Well, name one.
All right, Chester City Market.
Chester City
next
Market.
To the Town Hall, yes.
Well, what goes on there?
They sell things.
What do they sell?
They sell all sorts of provisions.
Provisions?
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, the same
when was
sort
the
of stuff.
last time you were at Chester Market?
I walked through there last time I was in Chester.
Really?
And the same sort of things that Borough Market sells, actually.
Well, here's one from... what? I mean, I'd like to go there, then, if it's that
Pies?
Good. Pies?
Yeah.
You can get a pie there.
You can get pie there.
What sort of pie?
All sorts of, exotic foreign foods.
Exotic foreign food?
I'll tell you what they do sell. I remember passing the stall. Those little triangular pastry things.
Triangular pastry things? You mean samosas?
Yeah, samosas, that's it. Yeah, they sell them.
Well, everybody sells those.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. You know, I just said to you, same as, 100 markets around the world.
Well, it's not the same as 100 markets around the world. It's why people come to Borough Market from around the world, because there's nothing like it, actually, anywhere else in the world.
Do me a
It is one
favour.
of the most visited tourist attractions in London now.
Give me a break.
Now, here's one from Carol,
Yes.
who says, Caroline, of course, down in Southeast Asia, she says, to be fair, this is coming from somebody who eats fish fingers and smash.
Yes.
This is the problem. You see, people don't trust your judgment on food because you don't like food, really. You just eat food because you have to.
I eat food because I enjoy what I eat.
Okay.
The trouble is that because you're such a sort of jumped up.
You think I'm jumped up?
Yeah, jumped up.
You think
foodie,
I'm jumped up?
No,
not at all. I just like cooking and I like eating decent food. I do not like being given, sort of mass-produced garbage in a place like Wetherspoons.
You call me a
will
snob.
Now occasionally have a worm in it.
You call me a snob all the time, but in fact, you're the guy who actually looks down on people who like basic foods.
I don't look down on anyone.
Yes, you do.
What I tell you is that you should eat better because you would be healthier and you might live longer.
I don't.
And if all you do is continually boil the spinach into a ball, eat smash out of a packet, and to gorge yourself on fish fingers, you won't live very long.
I don't take much notice of that. By the way, do you eat chili?
Chili what?
Hot chili helps you live longer.
Do you mean chili powder, or do you mean chili's a little vegetable? I use a lot of chili. I mean, in fact, I used in the curry that I made yesterday.
Yes,
I used some dried Kashmiri chilies. I used a little bit of Kashmiri chili powder.
Yes.
And I used one red chili.
Well, it says here from one of my culinary...
It's very good for you.
From one of my culinary journals.
Yeah.
It says, if you like curry or spicy Mexican dishes, there's even more reason to tuck in. It could help you to live longer.
Yes.
Researchers who studied the eating habits of volunteers over 20 years found that those who ate who ate hot red chili peppers.
Yes.
Isn't that the name of a group?
The red hot chili peppers.
Oh, this is
not the hot red chili peppers.
Okay, this is hot red chili peppers, right? Are 13% less likely to die than those who did not.
Yes.
The most common diseases that the chili peppers seemed to ward off were heart conditions and strokes.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, they do say that a little bit. I mean, as long as you don't have too much of it. But you're not a big fan of spicy food, are you?
Oh, not really, no. I'd like Indian curry, but like a mild one. Yeah. I usually have a chicken biryani.
Biryani, yeah.
Yeah, which is great.
Yes.
Love it.
Here's one from Def, who says, samosas on Chester Market. What a time to be alive.
Sorry, is that some sort of ignorant reflection on...
Well, he's just saying it's not particularly exotic, I think,
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Indian
it is. Food has been
I
around.
never had samosas in Chester Market when I was a kid, when I was on my way home from the King's School Chester, and I'd amble through the market.
But when you were that young, Indian restaurants weren't quite what they are now. I mean, you now will find an Indian restaurant in almost every high street of every city and every town and every village in the country.
Well, quite a few around in Chester when I was growing up. I mean, when we got to about 17 or 18, and I had more money than anybody else because I worked harder than everybody else.
More money than anybody else? That's not true, is it?
I used to take...
Simply not true.
Take my girlfriends to either the Chinese or Indian, and they were well impressed, believe me.
Was this before or after you discovered they didn't serve dragon?
No, that would be ridiculous. That was when I was about 15 or 16. I didn't quite understand it.
Right.
Listen, did you hear me talking earlier about getting a crest on my slippers?
I did hear you talking about
think?
that. I think that's the most ridiculous thing.
£310.
Even for you. Well, I thought you've already got a pair of slippers that you paid some ridiculous amount of money for.
Well, yeah, but that was because of the make of the slippers. They were a bit sort of Alibaba-ish.
Well, all right. Well, say, for example, you wanted to invent a crest for the Parry family.
Yes.
What would it have on it?
Well...
Portcullis? A couple of swords?
No, I'd think a bit more deeply about that. I think the crest of Everton Football Club, for instance, would have to be contained in it.
Well, no, you can't steal that.
Well,
that's copyright.
I'd have something similar then.
But if you knew anything about heraldry, you could sort of look at it and say, right, well, because our family came from this sort of background, we'll use a piece of corn or something, or a feather.
No, I'd have a quill,
white feather.
My writing ability.
Yeah, you could have a
newspaper journalist.
You could. I mean, I don't know if they would permit you to have sort of a microphone or something.
I'd have maybe a microphone. I'd have a like something to
plank.
No, you idiot! I'd have something to indicate my pugilistic success at an early age in life. You know what I mean?
You mean this fake Butlins Cup you've been providing to the live shows that we've been getting? The one that's been made like 5 years ago.
Well, you stole the original one.
I didn't steal it.
And you've never returned it.
Rubbish.
Where is the original one?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, yes, you do.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Everybody's seen a picture of my original Butlins Cup. In fact...
Are you saying that the new one is in fact a new cup then?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that, it's a dual...
It's a replacement.
No, it was a dual effort.
Was it?
In fact, I would have, within my family crest, a picture of that Butlins Cup.
Why?
Well, to prove that my success
Might
in
we
the
just have a pair of boxing gloves? Wouldn't that be better?
Maybe.
Maybe we should get somebody to design it, because we've got some very talented people out there with Photoshop and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get them to send a few in.
These slippers, by the way.
Who makes these slippers?
Well, believe it or not, they come from a company based in Eton. So
it doesn't surprise me.
Which is
does not surprise me.
And
so they make them for people with more money than sense.
Well,
and a huge regard for themselves.
Yeah. How about this? They come in corduroy. Okay.
Dear God.
Maroon.
Right.
Dark blue or bottle green.
So they're corduroy.
Yeah.
Have they got like tartan inside or something?
Black leather sole.
Right.
And
leather sole.
Yeah, black leather sole.
Are they indoor or outdoor slippers?
No, they're indoor. But they've got proper leather on the sole. That's why they're £310.
Uh-huh.
And what they say is that actually the reason why these are so popular is that because I have explained in the past that you go to people's homes and they don't like to walk on the new carpets.
Yes.
They also provide a travelling case with them. So that when you
so you carry around them, carry them around in
you.
A separate case from your actual other case.
Well, you carry them around with you. You carry them around with you. So, for instance, if I was coming to stay down at your place for the weekend or
that's
something,
not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. But I'm so thoughtful. I would bring my own slipper case with my slippers in.
Really?
And then that would stop me walking around on your carpet in my shoes.
I'll chuck on the fire.
No, you wouldn't.
I would.
No, you wouldn't.
I wouldn't want you arriving.
Why would you do that?
Well, because if you want slippers, I'd provide you with a pair.
No, I'd bring my own.
Yeah.
And
Sounds like a nightmare.
by the way, they're handmade, hand stitched, and your family crest on the front is stitched on by hand.
Yeah, but you haven't got a family crest, so you'd have to make one up.
Yeah,
and you'd have to sort of manufacture some kind of family history that you thought was impressive enough to put on some slippers.
No, that wouldn't be difficult to provide a family crest, would it? It'd be great.
I'm going to ask some people to send them in.
I'm very turned on by this idea.
Turned on by it?
Yeah.
Dear God.
You're going to ask people to do what?
I'm going to ask them to design a crest for you.
Huh?
Design a crest for you.
Well, how can somebody design a crest for me? I know the crest.
They'll do it for you. Trust me. This is Talk Sport.
For MASH, get smash.
Good morning, I'm Mike Parry. I'm not Mike Parry at all, actually. I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry, and you're listening to The Two Mikes on Talk Sport. Coming up in this hour, it's time for Ask Porky, because, of course, it's time for him to solve a few more problems. He's been solving them for a long time, and if you haven't had a chance to get one of yours solved, now's the time to do it. 08717 223344. You can tweet us at The Two Mikes, or look for us on the Facebook page. We've got loads of really good questions. It's going to be very, very good this evening. You're listening to The Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are The Two Mikes. The Porky quiz this week is going to be on Washington, D.C., as it's just been revised up. I've got a great tweet here from Mitch, who's down in Australia.
Yes.
He says, live alien rampaging roo report, 3 spotted at the bottom of my garden, only 100 metres from the man cave. I'm going to put an electric fence up.
I would.
Look at that. I mean, that's where his house is. It's in the sort of...
and I've got that picture. Let me have a look, And what's happened? He's seen some...
He says he spotted 3 kangaroos at the bottom of the garden.
Right.
Only 100 metres from his man cave.
Yeah.
Which would tend to suggest that they might be planning some form of attack.
On the rampage.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, tell you what.
Mark says, heading down a slippery slope, Porky. Hashtag man of the people.
What's that? What's slippery slope?
I don't know. Lee
me.
says indoor slippers, outdoor slippers. Porky's slipper mad. He will have to get 10 pairs for when he goes to his sister's at Christmas.
Well, not at all. But I think the idea of taking your own with you is a very good idea because it saves the embarrassment of when you get to somebody's house and saying, would you mind taking your shoes off, please? I hate walking around in my socks anyway.
Yes.
I think there's something very odd about it.
Well, I mean, I don't object to that. But it is. I mean, the difficulty is you go to somebody else's house. I mean, you can't always dictate exactly what you should wear. And
exactly.
Whether, they might not want you to bring your own slippers. They might not know where they've been.
Yes, exactly. Now then, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
I've got a
few crests coming in, by the way.
Have you?
Yeah.
Any of them any good, or are they just all
not really
completely mockable?
There's that one there, which is a sort of a porky pig thing.
Oh, quite like that, yeah.
You don't mind that? Here's
right.
one from Gloaty Sock, who says, picture a crest with a pig representing the porkiness, a duck representing the morning feeding duties, and a rat for the cunning.
A rat for the cunning, I like that, yeah. By the way, Lord Glenconner was also Colin Tennant.
Yes, somebody else suggested that, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Now, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend of mine who's a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Quite recently.
Dr. Banner.
Not Dr. Banner, no. Dr. Banner is my cardiologist consultant.
Yes.
Who looks after my heart and looks after it very well indeed, thank you.
When are you going to see him again?
I can't reveal those sort of details because you have to remember I have life insurance policies and I don't want to start frightening people or anything like that, okay?
Frightening people?
Yes.
Well,
now, the point is, my doctor friend says that all these, do-gooders and these, self-sanctimonious types who go on this booze strike in January, you know what I mean?
Dry January, yes.
Complete waste of time, not only a complete waste of time, but actually damaging to their health and something that should not be encouraged.
What do you mean?
Well, the point is that what these people do is they say, I'm going to go dry January. They go on dry January.
Yeah. They
think then that, they've done their penance for the year. They've taken a month out and not drunk alcohol. And then they go mad on a binge for the next 11 months. What they should do is they should say to themselves, I'm going to, generally speaking, cut down 25% on my alcohol intake throughout the year.
Yes.
Not just cut everything out in January.
Why not do both?
It's a waste of time.
Well, you could do both. I mean, I don't think there's any
most
harm.
people don't do both. Most
well,
people
you don't
do
know
it.
that. You don't know that,
most people do it as a self-indulgence. Oh, look at me, They convince themselves that they're a hero for giving up alcohol, and they try to convince everybody else, look what a wonderful person I am.
Well, I think it's not a bad thing for your body to be deprived of alcohol, which is effectively poison for an entire month. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, the other thing is it can give you terrible psychological problems because it definitely affects your behaviour and your ability to relate with other people.
How do you mean?
Well, the point is that if you're going to go dry in the whole of January, you will inevitably not feel comfortable in some situations where you felt very comfortable before.
In the pub.
You go out with your friend,
exactly. But what if a lot of your friends have also gone dry for the same month?
Well, what do you do then? Do you go off to a coffee shop or something?
You could go to a coffee shop, yeah.
But you don't.
So you go out for dinner?
Don't. I've never been to a coffee shop in my life. Why would I go? No, I haven't.
Of course you have.
No, I haven't.
You must have been.
Never.
You've never been into a Costa Coffee?
Never.
You've never been into a Pret?
Never.
You've never been into, Cafe Nero?
Never.
Really?
I promise you.
You've never stopped at a motorway service stop and popped in and got a coffee?
No, never.
Well, what do you do when you're driving?
Well, I don't drink coffee anyway. If I stopped anywhere on a motorway, it would be to go and get a sandwich and
where?
And a bottle in a plastic bottle of what's that stuff? Oasis.
It's orange squash, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I wouldn't go and get a coffee.
You don't ever drink coffee when you're driving?
No, never. No, I hardly ever drink coffee at all. But I would never go.
Tea then. You get tea.
It takes too long to drink because it's hot.
Yeah.
So I want to drink something that's at, normal temperature, which I can just drink, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So what I'm saying is it completely alters your psychological approach to life because if you say, I'm going to give it up, you don't see your friends. If you do see your friends, you see them in this weird environment.
That's not true because if your friends are also doing it, then you do see your friends.
Yeah, but I don't know any friends who are doing it.
Well, you don't know any because you haven't got that many, though. But most of the friends
true,
that you've
but
got...
that's by choice.
But most of the friends that you've got...
I do not suffer
are
fools
all drunks.
lightly.
I mean, all the friends that you tell us about...
I will not mix with juice heads just for the sake of having friends.
Most of the people that you tell us about that were your friends in the past have died of drinking too much.
Well, a lot of them have, but they weren't necessarily my friends. They were just people I knew in the business of
my daughter,
journalism,
for example,
which has a very heavy mortality rate
has decided to
bladderation.
My daughter, for example, has decided to try not to drink too much during January.
Well, that's very commendable for a young lady like that.
And she's got lots of her friends, many of whom are also young ladies of the same sort of age, right? Who've all done the same.
Well, that's good.
So they still see each other.
So good. That's okay. They can mix together. It wouldn't happen in my social circle, okay?
Yeah, but in your social circle involves going to the pub a lot, doesn't it?
Well, my social circle involves if I do decide to take a bit of time out, maybe once or twice a week, yes, it will be to visit a pub.
I mean, for example, how has your social circle been this week? I mean, how many people have you seen in various different organisations and locations? None. So it's now Wednesday. You haven't seen anyone.
Well, I mean, on Sunday I was at the Everton game, so I mixed with a lot of people there, obviously, because there's a lot of people inside the football ground. Yeah, no, it was good.
Because you were sitting in a place having lunch, in a convivial place where...
It was brunch, actually.
Brunch?
Because it was early kick-off,
remember? Oh, that's right, yeah. You said it was sort of a special breakfast, Scout's breakfast or something.
Yeah,
Mersey Tunnel breakfast, was it?
No.
That's what you said it was.
No, I didn't.
Mersey Tunnel breakfast. You did. You said that the other night.
No, I don't think I did.
Yes, you did.
No, I think somebody else must have said that.
No, I only work with you. I don't work with anybody else.
And the point is, they served me an omelette.
An omelette?
Yeah.
You didn't have sausage and bacon?
Yeah, but there was an omelette on the plate as well.
An omelette?
So I gave it away.
Why did you order an omelette?
I didn't. It came as a...
You were in a place where they just gave you food? No. It's supposed to be high class.
No, it was a menu, wasn't it? It was a menu.
Well, why didn't you order it without the omelette?
You can make your choice of 4 different dishes, that's all.
Right.
Because it was brunch before the game.
Yeah, but surely you don't... I mean, it's like being on an airline. They just plonk it down in front of you and go, that's your food.
No. I said I'll have the...
Well, didn't you have a choice?
Yes, of course I did. And I said I'll have the full English breakfast. I didn't realise it also included an omelette.
Really?
So I gave the omelette away.
Who did you give it to?
The person sitting next to me.
Well, what sort of a person would that be that would take a free omelette off you?
Well, a good class person.
Sounds like a very low class kind of place you were hanging around in.
Anyway, getting back to the January, no drink. The other thing is, what's creeping in now is, believe it or not, is it's not just drink you give up in January.
Yeah.
Guess what?
What else?
The old vegan brigade.
Actually, I've seen a couple of people who've gone vegan.
Veganuary. It's called Veganuary.
In fact, I'll tell you what. I mean, our good friend Mark from the Hen and Chickens is doing that. Remember Mark at the Hen and Chickens?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you know this?
Because he's been putting on Facebook.
Really?
Yeah. So I know that all of this is completely alien to you.
Yeah.
But people actually keep up with what each other are doing.
So actually,
on something called Facebook.
Yeah. So actually, you become a vegan just for January.
Yeah.
How ridiculous is that?
Why?
Well, what's the point?
Well, but if you want to do it, that's the point. Surely, I don't know why you're so judgmental of people.
I don't know. So what's
you could give up red meat for January, for example.
Yeah. Well,
you could give up chicken for January.
I just don't see the point. I just don't see the point.
You'd give up being a complete and utter plank for January.
No.
If you wanted to.
No. I mean, so now it's not just, look what a good person I am. I've given up alcohol.
It's nothing to do with that.
Look what I'm a vegetarian just for January.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just posing.
No, it isn't.
This is social posing.
No, it's not.
Look at me, I'm a vegan.
Incorrect.
Look
I don't
at
think
me,
it is.
I'm a vegetarian.
Well, nobody else
look at me, I'm a
behaves like
teetotaler.
No, nobody behaves like that apart from you, where you go, look at me, look what I'm doing, look what my flash car is like, look at the great, house I live in, and all that kind of thing. Nobody does that because they want to impress anyone. They just want to do it to give themselves a bit of a holiday from the toxins of life.
I think it's pathetic.
Do you? Well, I'm sure that won't stop anyone.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Nelly the elephant packed a trunk and said goodbye to the circus. Off she went with the trumpety trump, 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 trump. Nelly the elephant packed a trunk and trundled off to the jungle. Off she went with the trumpety trump, 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 trump.
There's a couple more of some quite interesting crests here. Here's one of you doing a cinnamon challenge.
Oh, I see, yes.
Holding a mug of foaming beer and wearing what looks like some lederhosen.
No, I don't wear lederhosen.
Here's another one.
Yes.
This one looks quite good. Look,
yes.
Porcus Maximus, except you can't read the line underneath because obviously that's not something you could read out, but it looks quite nice.
No, I don't like that one, I'm sorry.
You don't like that?
Why do you think we just played Nelly the Elephant?
Because you mentioned Lord Glenn Connor and Colin Tennant.
No, well, funny enough...
was riding an elephant.
But it's
I'm
not
assuming
that.
It's not.
No, it's not that. It's a much, much better reason. It's a much better reason. My campaigns to save animals is coming to fruition.
Hey, what about that orangutan up at Chester Zoo? Did you see that story today?
It escaped from its
compound. From its compound.
I have now.
Lots of people were asking the question whether you have still decided to remain a friend of Chester Zoo.
No, I'm not a friend of Chester Zoo anymore.
You now cancelled it?
I've cancelled it.
Good man.
Yep.
Well done.
Yep, seriously.
So now you can no longer be accused of being a hypocrite.
No, I'm not a hypocrite. I've cancelled it. I'm no longer a friend of Chester Zoo. But there's even better news than that. The reason we played Nelly the Elephant there is because were you ever aware of Barnum and Bailey, the circus in America, when you were there?
I was.
Did you ever see it? Or?
I don't think I ever saw the circus when I was there, but I remember them being around.
Yeah, well, anyway.
They've just shut down, haven't they?
I was about to say, it's the last circus in the world to parade elephants around in big trucks on trains and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And after 146 years, thank God, it is now closing down.
But they surely were not using animals as well, were they?
Yeah, they were using elephants, yeah.
Yeah, what about giraffes? Remember we had this conversation about giraffes on a train?
Yeah, no, they weren't using giraffes.
How did you get a giraffe on a train?
It says high production costs, declining ticket sales, but mostly the fact that their elephants now are too old to perform anymore have led to the closure.
Well, it's terribly old-fashioned now, isn't it? The whole idea of a circus. I mean, the idea that kids... I mean, I was telling you about when my kids went last Saturday.
Yes.
This place called Kidzania, where they could do a mock news broadcast.
Yes.
Television news broadcast.
Yeah.
They could pretend to be a weatherman, and then a green screen behind them.
Yeah.
They could be... there was a little football academy there. I mean, there's so much for them to do, and that they can get
involved. Want to go and watch elephants.
Well, why would they want to sit in a cold tent?
Yes.
Because whenever I've been to a circus, it's always been freezing. cold tent, watching something which, in a way, looks rather more cruel than fun.
Yeah, absolutely. The chap who's in charge of it, a guy called Kenneth Field, Chief Executive of Field Entertainment, says the circus and its people have continually been a source of inspiration and joy to my family and me, which is why this is a tough decision to make. It's not a tough decision.
Right.
You've got to close down circuses which parade animals around in incarcerated conditions.
Yeah.
Now, actually, Barnum and Bailey, of course, is very famous. Wasn't that the show that Michael Crawford became a star at in the West End?
I don't know.
The greatest show on earth, Barnum and Bailey.
Oh, was it? I don't know.
I think, when he walked...
I'm being told yes. Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm
Yeah.
not a big fan of those kinds of things.
But anyway...
He's in Phantom of the Opera, is all I know.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But anyway, to give you a history of it, P.T. Barnum, a businessman and mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut.
I know Bridgeport well.
Maybe near where your sister lives.
Not far away. You go through it on the way up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Founded the circus in 1875 as P.T. Barnum's Great Travelling Museum, Menagerie, Caravan and Hippodrome.
Yeah.
He met up with a circus run by a man called James Bailey. It acquired the nickname The Greatest Show on Earth. That's what it was called, and it was then forever known as the Barnum Bailey Circus.
But if you think back to when that was all started, you know, that was the kind of, it was
the 1870s.
Yeah, and it was an amazing thing to see.
That's right.
But it's a bit like watching King Kong or something, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. No, absolutely. Barnum launched his travelling circus after fires in 1865. Destroyed his American Museum because it used to be based in New York City.
Right.
And they think somebody set fire to it. In fact, it was a tragedy because 2 whales were boiled to death in their tanks during the inferno.
Oh, God.
Because the water heated up so badly.
How terrible.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it?
So they had whales in tanks. Can you imagine how small the tanks were as well?
It must have been terrible.
That's awful.
Yeah. But anyway, in recent years, I'm delighted to say, legal battles with animal welfare groups have plagued the circus. Plagued the circus, yeah. In 2014, it had to retire a number of performing elephants purely on veterinary health grounds, and announced it would be stop using them altogether in 2018. But now, under pressure and the fact that the health of the animals is paramount, the circuit itself will close.
Yeah. Well, it's no bad thing.
Trudy Williams, who trained the elephants for the show, said, "It is sad. You feel it's the end of an era." I don't think it's sad. Keeping elephants in captivity is sad.
Yeah, it is sad, exactly.
Yeah.
And so what happens to the elephants that they've got?
Let me see. Animal groups including People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, known as PETA, that's right, celebrated the decision this week. Ingrid Newkirk, group's president, said, after 36 years of PETA protests, which have awoken the world to the plight of animals in captivity, PETA heralds the end of what has been the saddest show on earth for wild animals, and asked that all other animal circuses to follow suit. This is a sign of the changing times.
It's a bit rich for them to claim it, isn't it? 36 years later.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything to do with PETA. It's to do with the fact that societal attitudes have changed.
I think it is.
You might say that they had some reason to feel that they contributed to that change, but the attitude of people's just changed. And that's, it's changed about a lot of things.
Well, that's true.
Same as, animal experimentation and all that.
Yes.
But I'll tell you a story about animals that might scare the pants off you.
Yes.
In addition to the roaming bands of kangaroos.
Yeah.
Do you know what's roaming around in Paris at the moment?
Would they be wild dingo dogs?
No, wolves.
Wolves, the same sort of thing. Same kind
of thing.
Where have they come from?
They've bounced back from near extinction in the 1930s. Apparently, they have always been sort of around
on
the outskirts of Paris. Yeah, but a bit like foxes in this country.
Yes.
Basically, they're now coming in closer and closer and closer to the centre of the city. Yeah.
Doesn't sound good, does it? Going out for a late night walk in the suburbs of London, and suddenly you're facing up against a wolverine.
Well, apparently it's now common occurrence to hear late night howling in the southern part of France.
That sounds like
southern part of Paris.
Sounds like the Messai Mara.
It does.
Yeah.
Apparently, for centuries they lived in the French Alps and in the Massif Central, but they were hunted to the point of near extinction by 1930.
The Massif Central, you mean?
Massif Central, that's what I said. Yeah.
No, you said the Massive Central.
Well, I didn't say massive. It's Massif.
That's right. Massif. The Massif. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you can go through your LOLO book of vocabulary if you wish.
No,
but they've now spread across France, and they've got closer and closer to Paris in the last sort of 5 years or so. Last year, a lone wolf was spotted 200 miles from Paris, but an expert pointed out the animals are capable of travelling 300 miles a day, regardless of motorways or railways.
What?
Now they've been spotted and heard within howling distance of the capital itself.
A wolf can travel 300 miles a day?
300 miles a day.
That can't be right.
Why not? Why wouldn't it?
Well, to travel 300 miles
that means it could
12 hours...
It could go from here to, say, I don't know...
Edinburgh.
No, it's a bit further than that. I would say to maybe Carlisle. About 300 miles. It's about 400 miles. London to Glasgow is about 400 miles.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not.
Well, what is it then? Well, you're going to just sit there and go, it's not.
It's about 300 miles.
Well, I used to drive it with my parents, about 4 times a year.
Yeah.
It was always about 400 miles.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
Well, we can easily check that.
You might be right, actually, because it's 200 miles.
London to Carlisle, 315
Leeds.
miles. There you go.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's about right, yeah. Okay, so if the Wolf was travelling for 12 hours...
Yeah.
And it went 300 miles...
Yeah.
That's 12 into 300. It would have to be travelling at about 25 miles an hour.
Well, it could possibly run at that speed.
It can't. Not for 12 continuous hours. That's a ridiculous
Well, this is from an expert who knows about wolves, right?
Rubbish.
From the Observatoire du Loup.
I'm telling you it's rubbish.
Well, you're telling me it's rubbish. You also told me that Glasgow to London was 300 miles. Yeah. It is exactly 411 miles.
Yeah,
so stick that in your pipe.
No, I've reviewed that, and
you got that wrong.
I accept that.
You got it completely wrong.
Accept that. I mean... I find this a bit hard to believe that you're in the middle of Paris, like we're in the middle of London now, and all of a sudden you've got the old,
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Only in the south of Paris, yeah, but that's what it sounds like. They are issuing pleas to the public to say basically there's nothing to be frightened of because wolves are not going to be interested in eating people. They're only interested in eating other four-legged creatures.
Hang on.
If you've got a cat or a dog, it's going to be attacking it.
Yeah, but not only that, but I mean, any animal that's starving, right, and they do starve, is going to attack purely out of fear and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but
they wouldn't attack a human, I don't think.
Why?
Did I ever tell you about the time I was playing golf in Arizona once?
Arizona?
And it was getting near dusk. And my friend and I were coming around.
Jojo was a man who thought he was a loner. Because that was all about Arizona.
Yeah, well, it wasn't actually.
It was.
It was all about Jojo, wasn't it? It was called Get Back.
Yeah, Get Back, yeah.
Well, it wasn't all about Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona was mentioned in that song.
Yeah, well, I was near Phoenix, and I was playing golf in this particular place. You been there?
Yeah, I've been there, yeah.
It's amazing air there. Did you not think the air was incredible?
Well, I think it's quite an amazing place, really. I had to drive from...
big sky.
From Phoenix to Tucson.
Yeah,
because
Tucson,
because the plane didn't land, it landed in the wrong place.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Well, anyway, I was playing up the last hole, and the thing about the desert in Arizona is they have to cut the grass into the desert, as it were. So they've sort of basically planted grass, and it's like little grass islands that you play across.
Yeah,
and they always said that as it gets darker, if your ball goes off the grass into the brush. Yeah. Don't bother going after it because there'll be rattlesnakes and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But as we were walking up the 18th hole, I suddenly looked and saw these kind of strange-looking figures in the distance.
Yep.
And as we got closer and closer, they were coyotes. And there was about 10 of them.
Yeah, okay.
Which are like wild dogs, a bit like the dingoes.
Yes.
And they were quite menacing because they were just stood all together kind of, across the fairway.
Yeah.
And we didn't quite know what to do because we thought, well, what should we do?
What size is a coyote?
It's kind of like a middle-sized dog, I suppose.
Right.
So not quite as big as my Labrador.
Like a wild dog.
Yeah, not quite as big as my Labrador, but like a smaller version of that sort of thing.
I know what you mean.
But they were sort of snarling and staring and they weren't moving.
Yes.
Yes. And so in the end, we decided to just hit a couple of golf balls at them and chase them away.
And did they?
Yeah, they disappeared.
Yeah. I played at Sun City once in South Africa.
Oh, yeah.
And the caddie who came out with me had a gun in his bag.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shooting
what?
Leopards and
leopards.
Yeah. If you, I mean, the poor guy.
That's what I call a hazard.
He got the short straw.
Stroke and distance.
Because you were told if your ball goes into the rough, right. Yeah. Do not, under any circumstances, go and pursue it yourself.
Right.
And I said, why not? He said, your caddie will get it.
Uh-huh.
And I said, why? He said, there could be anything in the rough in this part of the world.
Right.
A leopard, a panther, anything like that.
A snake?
No, they weren't really big on snakes.
They have snakes there, don't they?
I don't know. I never saw a snake there, but you see plenty of, like panthers and lions and that kind of stuff. No, you do, yeah. And leopards, leopards in particular, because they move so fast, you know. So I said, well... Yeah, I said, so what do we do? Just leave the ball? He said, no, your caddie will get it for you.
Yeah.
And I said, well, hang on. Sorry.
So did he take his gun into the rough?
Yeah, you take the gun out the bag and you take the gun and you go into the...
Was it like a rifle or a revolver?
It was a rifle. It was a, it was a proper rifle.
I bet you were in a rough a lot as well.
No, I was okay. But I mean, the guy, the caddy, was only about 16. You know, it wasn't like he was a trained soldier or anything, but he carried this gun. He just literally slung it on his back and said, "No, I'll go and get it for you." And off he was, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible about any number of different subjects, and they often are.
Yes.
We're going to start off with one from Facebook, which is from Pete, actually. He says, "So, Porky, it's football related.
Yes.
Your beloved Everton beat my boys over the weekend. A fluke result, but tell me, when will Everton win the Premier League?"
Well, I would say within 4 years, because it's going to be like that now. I think now that the playing field is levelled for everybody, Leicester won't be the first club to break the mould, so to speak. Sounds like a cliche, that, but it's not meant to be. You know, the Big Four will no longer be the Big Four. There's going to be a Big 8 or a Big 10, because it will now be a combination of the money you get from TV, which is going to be very interesting over the next few years, because I think the premium price for a game has been reached, and that's why the companies who are now bidding for these games have to make cuts in other areas. So there's going to be that, plus the size of your club. That relates to the size of your ground. Hopefully Everton will get a new ground soon. We should be on a level playing field with the others.
Here's one from Matt on Twitter. He says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bored are you with Brexit strategy, Brexit negotiations, Theresa Brexit, etc.?
I'm still quite fascinated by the whole policy, but in terms of the detail, I do not spend as much time on it now as I would have done, say, 20 years ago when I was the new Supremo at the Daily Express, because it's not something I've got time to actually dwell upon. There are other issues in life which have to be prioritised. There is a hierarchy of priorities in my life. Brexit, interesting, but not in detail, fairly low down.
Here's one from Sean, who says, Porky, we're having a family trip to Dublin, lads only, to celebrate my dad's 60th birthday. The problem is that our wives, girlfriends and mums, etc., are insisting we visit distant family members while we are there, and not to do it under bladderation. Do we ignore these requests and get on the bladderation trail at the airport, or abstain and visit the aforementioned family members while in a state of sobriety?
It would be an absolute disaster to go and visit relatives on a trip where you are clearly of a mindset to get into the bladderation mode, Irish style. Dublin's one of the greatest cities in the world to go on a pub crawl, which is basically what the bladderation trail is. Temple Bar, absolutely. But also, you rent yourself a car for the day, people carry something like that, and get to some of the outlying villages outside Dublin. In fact, if you've got time, get down the coast a bit, because believe me, it is a wonderful, beautiful country, and you will have a great, great time. I wouldn't even
In fact, if you start venturing out of Dublin, you'll never get home in time.
No, exactly. I wouldn't even consider for one moment visiting any relatives down there. Get yourself into a Connell Street, Temple Bar, get over the bridge of the Liffey, Grafton Street, and you will have a great time.
OK, here's one from Lee. Where in the world is the best place to bring up a newborn baby?
Well, the best place to bring up a newborn baby is where you and your partner in life feel most happy and contented with the circumstances surrounding your existence. So the answer to that is, if, for instance, you're a Native American, the best place to bring up a baby is in a teepee in the middle of a forest in Connecticut. However, if you live in this country and you have ambitions to become a member of our wonderful society, best place to bring up a baby is in Britain.
Mark says this, Mr. Porky, I have a slum landlord who's behind on providing a gas safety check. As you know, being a landlord yourself, what should I do? I've spoken to him, and every time I speak to him, he says he will look at his paperwork and he is out of the city. It is at least 6 months out of date. Should I take this hire?
Oh, you've got to report that. I'm sorry, you've got to report that. If you don't report that, then you are absolutely at fault yourself. Anybody who lives in a rented building, two things have to be checked these days. The electricity circuits have to be checked on an annual basis, so does the gas. You have to have a report on both. If you haven't, you must report your landlord to the authorities, i.e. your local authority who regulate these things. Do not fear reprisals from your landlord who says, I'm going to throw you out and end your tenancy. You can't do that. That's discrimination.
Ian says this, snooker is the most over-televised #1 boring sport in the world. Would Porky agree?
No, not really. I don't watch snooker for hours and hours on end, but if Ronnie O'Sullivan's playing, I will tune in and watch a couple of frames just to watch the man's genius. However, it does not have the popular appeal it had when it first came to television, largely because then we had new colour televisions and it was a novelty. That has worn off, certainly.
Rich says this, Porky, I'm thinking of suggesting personalised notepaper in all suites at our hotels. Do you think guests would use them?
Yeah, of course they would. They would love it. That's a really lovely personal touch. Now, I'm not sure if you're just testing me here or if you do have a boutique hotel, But I think it'd be pretty magnificent.
We do have a couple of hoteliers that listen. I know that.
Yes, okay. I think it'd be a magnificent gesture, and it's those little touches that make you special and different to the competition. I would say go ahead.
Here's another football-based question from Glenn. Dear Porky, as a passionate Leeds United supporter, the last 12 years have been nothing short of catastrophic for morale in our great city. With Gary Monk now in charge, new investment coming into the club, and Massimo Cellino finally keeping his mouth shut, can the people of Leeds now dare to dream that we are on the verge of taking our rightful place back at the top of English football, or will the money men once again crush all of our hopes as usual?
No, you should be ambitious, as you have been for the last 12 years, and you're quite right. People forget that Leeds United were the last team to win the First Division title before it became the Premier League. So, they ended an era as the club up there who still carry the torch for the First Division. Magnificent club, very big fan base. I think you've got one of the biggest self-standing stands full of seats in the world, 12,000 people there, and you do belong in the Premier League, and I wish you luck in getting back there as soon as possible to make the Premier League stronger.
Mark says this: I've just resigned after 9 years as a policeman. Do I stay on Anglesey or do I move away for work?
Well, it's entirely up to yourself. If you like Anglesey, and islands can have a certain appeal, and you like your environment, and you've made, a lot of sort of friends, i.e. contacts within the community because you've been a policeman, then stay by all means. However, if you were born in Anglesey and brought up there, I would move.
Not a lot happening there, is there?
Sorry?
There's not a lot happening there.
I was going to say, I would move. The only thing I know about Anglesey is RAF Valley, Holyhead, which is where you get a boat train to Ireland, and the Menai Straits Bridge. Apart from that, I'm not sure there's much there.
Lucy says this: what are your favourite Beatles lyrics? Mine are "Living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see."
Well, that's from Strawberry Fields, and that is a fantastic lyric. However, I was reminded today, I don't know why somebody reminded me today, that the song that probably revolutionised the world and made the Beatles almost, beatific were the lyrics to the song A Day in the Life. And so I'd have to say that's the one, particularly the bit about, got up, got out of bed, dragged the comb across my head, which was Paul McCartney's input into John Lennon's song.
OK. Max says this: Dear Porky, this is a legit question. Looking at going back on a 12-hour flight, as a working-class fellow, I flew economy last time, and I almost committed several murders due to the air hostess constantly bumping my shoulder on her way past me. Will business class save me such torment, or do I save up for a first-class ticket but fly months after my planned date?
Well, I don't like flying first class. I think there's a lack of intimacy a lack of privacy in first class, because people are fussing around you all the time. And because there's so few people in the cabin, you tend to have to sort of talk to somebody, if you see what I mean. I like business class. There's just enough number of people in there, usually about, I would say, when I've flown, maybe 30 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I find the space restrictions and everything perfectly adequate. I don't like flying economy because I'm of a certain age and I have an irritability, and I'm not. I'm not quite as slim as I was. I would do all you can to fly business. And by the way, shop around and get the best deal. You go into the Sunday Times travel pages on a Sunday, and there are some terrific deals there.
There certainly are.
Yeah.
TMU says this: is money the answer to everything?
Money's the answer to and the majority of things in my life. I can't speak for everybody. Some people have spiritual guidance. Some people have a vow of poverty if they're a monk or something, living in a monastery or something like that. But for me, the answer to most of the things that I've tried to get done in life has been money.
Steve, with a slightly more philosophical question, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, I know that's the everlasting question about what happened. The thing is, you've got to have a balanced life. And what you have to do is you have to make compromises sometimes. To achieve one ideal, you maybe have to ease up on another. I mean, for instance, I remember years and years ago, Rupert Murdoch was trying to expand his empire, and he had to sell direct TV. And the reason I remember that was because that now is very relevant, isn't it, to John Malone, who I think owns TV.
Is now buying Formula One.
Buying Formula One and all that kind of stuff. And it was just a question of, you build, you acquire, you go up, and then suddenly there's an offer on the table that you've got to take, but in order to fulfil it, you've got to sell something else and ship it off. So chicken and egg, it doesn't exist. What exists is compromising your life to make sure you get the best out of it.
Chicken and eggs exist, I suppose. Joseph says this: Porky, I forgot about my wife's birthday, and it is tomorrow. Now, he sent this yesterday at 5:27, so I presume it's today.
Yes.
He says, what should he do?
Sorry, what? He's forgotten it.
His wife's birthday's today.
Right.
So up until now, he's forgotten it. But
okay.
I mean, technically, if you haven't forgotten it really until you've missed it.
No. The point is, years ago, if you'd forgotten it, there's no chance of getting a birthday card in the post with a stamp on it to make out like you've remembered from before. There's no chance sometimes of getting that present if the shops are closed. However, there are so many things available today which are either gifts through, events, i.e. you can literally ring somebody up and say, I want to get my wife a voucher for, a £100 beauty session at your beauty salon.
Yeah.
And within a few minutes, that could appear on your mobile phone.
Yeah.
And you can just show it to her and say, there's your birthday present, okay?
Sure.
Or you can get it sent to you and you can run it off on your printer or something like that. So there's plenty of hope left in your day yet.
Okay. Here's another one. Have you ever had horizontal refreshment with someone you'd be mortified if your family knew about? I suppose you're not going to tell us on national radio.
Well, not really, to be honest. I mean, to be honest, after the age of about 18, most of my family never met my girlfriends anyway because we all lived in different places. I mean, they'd occasionally, or maybe you'd go and visit or something and take somebody with you. But mostly speaking, no. No, I can't say I've had any problems.
It was a bit too sordid, really, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know really where the question's coming from, but no, I haven't got any problems on that front at all.
Ian says this, China will implement the 3 foreigners starting lineup rule. Should we do the same here in England?
Too complicated to get into, I'm afraid, because of internationality these days, multiculturalism and multinational company policy. No, don't even start, because once you regulate anything, it gets worse.
Oh, OK. Well, you wanted to regulate China the other night.
No, I don't want to regulate China. I want to make sure that China don't suck in all the world's best players purely through tons of dosh.
OK, here's one from Adam. I've recently parted from my wife and started divorce proceedings. From the outside, Porky, what's the best advice you can give me going on MG's divorce experience?
Well, I can't really, because I've never been married or divorced. All I can say is I hope that you both resolve the situation to your individual satisfactions, that you don't suffer too much misery in doing it. I am told that, the 3 worst things that can happen to you in life is moving house, divorce, and death of a family member. And I hope you don't suffer too much misery. It's obviously a very unpleasant experience.
Final question from Neil. If you had to choose between saving the life of old MG or being given an Aston Martin, where would you take the car on its first drive?
Very good question. I think I'd probably try and do a bit of a circuit of the top of Scotland. I'd love that. That would be brilliant. Around the top of Fort William and all that kind of stuff. It'd be brilliant.
Ben Nevis.
Yeah, Ben Nevis. Empty
Loch
roads.
Ness.
And roaring around. However, if I had a minute's reflection and flicker of conscience, I'd probably take the Aston Martin back to the dealer and save old MG.
That's very kind. What a nice fellow you are.
No problem.
That was Ask Porky.
The 2 Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk.
Years of age, got your whole life in front of you. Just get on with it.
Francis said this. Did Porky just say his plane landed in the wrong place, or was he on the wrong plane?
No,
That's quite a good question.
No, it was, we've talked about wind shear before, and I've told this story before.
Yeah.
3 times a pilot tried to land in Phoenix, in Tucson.
Right,
Tucson.
Yeah.
And eventually, after the 3rd one, he gave up and he said, I'm sorry, we're going to have to divert to Phoenix. And we did, and I think it's about 120 miles away.
Yeah.
And they gave me like a free car to drive back.
Very nice, too. Yeah. Mind you, the cars in that part of the world are so cheap to rent. Westrin says, I'm sure after the caddy observed Porky's swing, he must have been tempted to use the gun on Porky himself.
That's very hard.
Yeah, I can see you're obviously very perspicacious about that.
Yes.
And Dave says, Porky, you can't get a train from Holyhead to Ireland. You're planked.
No, it's a boat train.
Yeah.
What happens is the train comes up from London, right? It goes right up the old, to the northwest, goes through Chester, goes on to Holyhead, and then in the old days...
Does the train actually go on the boat, though?
That's what I'm saying. In the old days... I
don't think it does that anymore, though, does it?
Probably doesn't anymore, but it used in the same way as cross-channel ferries. The train used to drive onto the cross-channel ferry, and then the boat would go across the channel and drive off at the other side.
Yeah, except that the gauge is different in France, isn't it?
Yeah, well, but they had a method of...
pointless thing, exercise.
They had a method of changing that, didn't they, or doing something. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Dom says, there's a large pig escaped from Stockroper Belt, Surrey, last seen eating smash. If you find Porky, please get in touch.
Yes, well, I'm not going to respond to that sort of drivel, am I?
Yeah. And somebody's being very rude about veganuary, saying that he hasn't got a message for some people who want to go vegan. It's not one I can read out on a family show.
I don't blame anybody about that. What age do you think you'll retire at?
What?
What age do you think you'll retire at?
I wasn't really planning on retiring, to be honest.
Well, this is what I mean. You have family responsibilities.
Well, yeah, it's not even that. It's just that, I think we're fortunate enough to be in a business where we can continue to work.
Yeah, but not when you're senile.
Not when you're senile. Well, in that case, then it won't be my choice, will it? I mean, since my father became Gaga and his mother became Gaga, there's a pretty good chance I will also become Gaga.
Well, if you're not already.
Well, no, certainly not already. And certainly compared to you, I'm absolutely and utterly in total grasp of all of my faculties, right?
Yeah.
But I would say that in about 10 years, I will be in less grasp of my faculties, and within 20 years, probably I'll be incapable of doing anything.
Yeah, I would say so. You'd probably be dead. But
it
says here the number of
workers...
But
you'll probably be dead before me, so...
no, I don't think I will, actually. I've got a...
so you admit there's nothing wrong with you?
No.
Oh, you finally get the truth out of you?
No, I think I've got a life wish. I just think that its destiny is going to keep me alive. But it says here... It says here in one of my reports, it says the number of workers in their 80s and 90s has doubled in the last 5 years. Now, I'm not sure if anybody who's in their 80s or 90s is going to be a very competent worker.
Well, that depends, doesn't it? I mean, you see nowadays that people live much longer than they used to, so each successive decade is the same as maybe 20 years ago it was 10 years before, if you see what I'm saying.
It says thousands more people aged 18 over are finding part-time jobs in a move dubbed a social revolution. More than 42,000 octogenarians, that's people in their 80s, obviously.
Is it?
And nonagenarians, people in the 90s, are in employment compared to only 21,000 5 years ago.
Well, my mother's in her 90s, right? But I'm not sure she could do anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But, I mean, that's because perhaps she's not worked for a very long time. But, I mean, you see stories in the papers and stories on the news all the time. I mean, there was a couple of guys who went to the European court for some reason or other because they felt they were being underpaid. And they'd taken on a paper round, the two of them, at the age of about 85.
Yeah, that's right.
And they were taking papers round to their local neighbours.
See, I think that's quite a good idea. A paper round's good at that age.
I wouldn't want you turning up on my door selling my papers, thanks.
If you remember recently, there was this story, and I just yawned when I first saw it, about some guy who's, I think he was about 85 or something, and he was looking for a football club because he was still playing for his local football team, but they closed down. Yeah. Whichever, for whatever reason, they lost their field or they lost their hut or something.
Yeah, probably some greedy property developers decided to develop the land.
Could have been. So he's looking for it. So I thought, another one of these stupid stories of, look how old this person is. He runs marathons,
Is this the guy that was running up and down the stairs?
Well, this is what I was about to say to you. So this guy's about 83 or 84 or something. He might have been 87, but he's certainly in his 80s. And he was said to be Britain's oldest, current playing footballer.
Right.
And I thought, they'll show us pictures of this wizened old bloke who can barely move.
He was actually very fit, wasn't he?
Well, I was about to say, he could barely move, got no teeth and, what a ridiculous story. And then they went to his house.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll just nip upstairs and get my bag. And he sprinted up the stairs, sprinted back down again.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if you look after yourself these days, there's no reason for you to be old and infirm as such.
And then they showed him on the football pitch, and he didn't look like an invalid. He looked like he was, trying as hard as anybody else. And so from that point of view, it kind of changed my view. But I still think that you've got to... I think if somebody comes up and serves you in B&Q and they're in their 80s...
Yes.
I think you've got to have an understanding point of view about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest. I mean, I've been into B&Qs in the past, and they do have quite a lot of old people staggering about in the aisles.
Yeah, I only use them because they're a national chain.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, but I think they actually
could be Sainsbury's or anywhere.
I mean, I think all the big chains do it now.
Yeah,
and I'm all for employing anybody as long as they're capable of doing it.
Yes.
I'm not discriminatory against age, against disability, against race, against sexual orientation or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just want whoever it is that's serving me to know what they're doing.
I totally agree with that.
I couldn't care less whether they got 4 heads, 10 legs.
I totally agree.
It could be an octopus, as long as they know what they're doing.
Without a shadow of a doubt, you get a much more personalised service from somebody in their 80s than you do from somebody in their teens.
No, I don't agree. I don't think you can make that generalisation. Well, you've done exactly what I said I don't do, which is that you've started to say, older people are better than younger people. They're not. Some are good, some are not so good.
I've had terrible service from some younger people who are dilettante. In fact, I've actually seen people, two young people, actually gossiping behind a bar, like a girl and a boy.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there, and they must know I'm a customer and waiting to be served, and yet they can't break off their conversation to say...
I was in a Halfords once, right? Yeah. And I was trying to get... I can't remember what I was trying to buy. It was something in the car. And...
I didn't think you were in a Halfords to buy... something for the dining table, you know what I mean?
Well, it could have been any number of things I was buying. I could have been buying a bicycle. I bought a kid's bicycle in there once.
Anyway, go on.
What do you mean it's unlikely? It's not unlikely because I actually bought one.
Yeah, go on.
They have a bicycle section, they have a car section, they have a stereo section.
Yeah.
Could have been any number of things I was buying.
Get on with it.
So stop trying to be such a smart ass.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so I got the sense that there was nobody at this particular counter, which is normally the place you buy stuff for the car, right? Mm-hmm. And I could hear sort of voices coming from behind. There was a sort of a wall or some kind of divider, right?
Yeah.
So I walked around the side. I'd been standing for about 5 minutes. Nobody had come. Right. There was nobody in the shop.
Yeah.
I walked around the back, and there was a guy standing there with a Halfords uniform on, and a woman with a Halfords uniform on. She was crying her eyes out. Yeah. Right. And he was sort of attempting to comfort her.
Yes.
And I said, "Excuse me, can I have somebody come and help me?" He said, "Oh yeah, just a moment, sir. I'm just dealing with something." And I'm like, yeah, well, that's fine. Well, is there anybody else around? Yeah. It's quite busy out here.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
Not too interested in your emotional moments.
No. And he finally came round and he said, oh, I'm terribly sorry. She's just broken up with her boyfriend. And I'm like, well, sorry. What does that, how does that have any effect on me?
Yeah, how does that affect the profits of Halfords, by the way?
Well, you send her home or, ask her if she's not capable of working. Yes. Then, tell her to go and sit in the back room until she can be more composed.
Exactly.
But this is what happens now all the time. And, of course, he then looked at me as if I was, Attila the Hun.
Wicked person.
It's a terribly awful thing to say.
Yeah.
Have you got no compassion?
Yeah.
Well, not really, no. I haven't. Let's get on with it.
Absolutely disgraceful, honestly, the
shocking
service that some people give. And that's why, actually, and again, I'm not being nationalistic or anything like that, but you get terrific service from people in the service industry, I've found anyway, if they have come here from abroad.
Well, again, that's a bit of a generalisation, isn't it?
Well, I don't think it is, because it would be a generalisation if I said, almost everybody, but I can't remember anybody who's actually served me in the service industry who's come from, Latvia or Czechoslovakia.
How is this all
Poland.
going to be affected by Theresa May's Brexit plan?
I don't know. I don't think it will be affected.
In all the papers here I'm looking at, well, she says that we will no longer have access to the single market.
Yes.
And that she does not want access to the single market.
Now, what does that exactly mean?
Well, nobody really knows.
Exactly.
What she says is that she wants to have a trade deal with the single market, but she wants to remain outside of it.
Yes.
Now, that would mean, presumably, that basically, therefore Britain pays no attention to any EU regulations. And what they might say is that means that Britons will no longer be able to go and work in Europe, in which case Britain will have to say that Europeans can't all come here and work.
Yeah, but those who are here can stay.
Well, they say that.
No, there'd have to be a rule, because if you didn't, the service industries in this country would collapse.
It would totally collapse.
Certainly the restaurant and public house, bar, whatever you want to call it, industry, would collapse.
She says this: we want to guarantee the rights of EU citizens who are already living in Britain and the rights of British nationals in other member states as early as we can.
Exactly.
Well, that's what she wants to do.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that she's going to be able to do that.
Don't you get the feeling that the Europeans now, and you see it on a daily basis, are coming round to the idea that we're serious about leaving and are suddenly not being quite as aggressive and anti-us as they were at the start?
Well, because a lot of that was posturing, because they were trying to put off any other countries that thought they might want to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
By making it look as if they were going to be very difficult.
Yeah, totally agree.
But yeah, you're right. I think they're bluffing.
The German finance minister earlier this week said that it would be mad to break off trade relations with Britain.
Yeah.
We sell them a lot of Mercedes cars and we buy a lot of porcelain off them.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Porcelain?
Porcelain,
for their teeth.
No, you fool. For the dinner tables and all that kind of stuff.
Dinner tables.
And at the same time,
by the way.
At the same time, when the President of the United States of America says, I think Britain have done a good thing, I think Mrs. Merkel's made terrible mistakes, and actually Britain are going to be at the front of the queue of any trade deal, that is bound to have had an effect on the Europeans.
I'm sure it will have.
Yeah.
And will have, of course. And what we haven't talked about, but we haven't got time, unfortunately, is that Gambia is apparently now not a good place to go. 1,000 holidaymakers are being flown home from the Gambia.
Why?
Because there's some kind of military intervention going on after the presidential elections. Hopefully that won't happen in America on Friday. Sounds like.
You worry too much about the time.
Yeah, no, I worry about it.
For MASH, get smash.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Parry. I'm not Mike Parry at all, actually.